Hello and welcome to a special broadcast, one of thanks for all of the contributions that Master Race Car have given the Live for Speed community over the last 15 years. Today we are celebrating their epic milestone. We recently celebrated 4 years of broadcasting in LFS, but that's nothing on the 15 years that MRC have been providing action in Live for Speed. I'm Peter Butcher, and joining me tonight for the BF1 special, it's Travis Mehlinger. Travis, how you doing?
Good evening, Peter. I'm doing well, thank you. Thrilled to be here. Thrilled to be on board with Gabber, who's just come out of the pits on an outlap, so we'll pick him up in a minute. This should be a lot of fun. We love BF1 racing. MRC, I think, fans of BF1 among all of the teams, the communities in Live for Speed. So looking forward to this very much.
Yeah, I couldn't have put it better myself. I think, we're in for a treat here. We'll have a 45-minute open qualifying session. We've already got some drivers setting laps in the background. But before we go for some on-track action, let's have a look at the format for today. As you can see, we have a pretty long evening ahead of us of racing, but that's going to be awesome. 59 laps of racing around Kyoto Ring National reversed, 5.1 kilometers, 3.2 miles. I think this is the superior direction for this track. It certainly seems more interesting somehow, even though it's the same corners in reverse. Travis, what do you reckon? I like it this way around.
Oh, absolutely. The entry, first proper corner, it's called turn 2 there on the map. Turn 1 being the big banked oval turn 1. Turn 2, the very fast entry, the jab of the brakes, pitching the car in. The infield about the same going this direction, but then very tricky. So much more speed into turn 10. That double left apex is very, very tricky to get through there, and then, feathering the power on the way out and back onto the oval. I agree. Much, much better this direction.
Yeah, well, let's see how it goes with the BF1. We are sure to have seen it at Kyoto before for the BF1 League, or many of the seasons of BF1 League in the past, but we are using it again tonight for this event. Let's have a look at the car, the BF1, the famed BF1, the BMW Sauber F106, a 2.4 litre V8 mid-engine rear-wheel drive Formula 1 car, recreated in Live for Speed for, well, nearly 20 years. Unbelievable. But yeah, we enjoy watching this car. The drivers enjoy driving this car. It's an absolutely massive challenge for them. But alas, we have a few drivers here today to enjoy what should be a spectacle here in the MRC BF1 special. Travis, I think that's enough foreshadowing. We're going to head to the track for the qualifying session. So there we are then. We are on track, and we have some times on our timing tower. 12 such times at the moment of drivers who have set lap times in the session already, as the clock ticks down. 37 minutes remain of the 45 minutes qualifying session here this evening, and it's Gabor who currently sets the pace, and he has done a stunning lap time so far, a 1:16.43. But he's not yet. Well, he's not out on track again at the moment, so we'll have to wait and see if he's going to set a time later on.
He's just popped out of the pits, actually, to start a warm-up lap. 16:43, notably nowhere near his best lap in practice last night or the night before. He and Sami Litmanen were trading fast laps. He was all the way down at about 15:92, I believe, around 15:09, perilously close to the world record. So I think Gabber has a lot of pace left in his hands and in this car. And I dare say we may be able to see him set a world record lap during the session. That would be exciting.
Well, stranger things have happened on our broadcasts and in the racing in Live for Speed. He's about to start a lap, Travis. So let's watch him.
Yes, indeed. Warming up now in the throttle, almost full throttle coming through the right-hander before he comes back onto the circuit. And now full throttle. He'll stay high up above the line here, close to the wall as he can. A little bit of a kink on the way out, so drop down the racetrack, open up the steering, staying up on top to open up to lessen the amount of steering input needed to get around, help carry more speed, less friction in the tires, more top speed. And now down to the very bottom, hugging this white line all the way around, gently off the banking. And now quick jab of the brakes, pitch the car in, kind of coast it around over the banking here, hook it over the left side to help it turn in, and then hard on the brakes, down into the dip, just touching the curb on the inside, all of the curb on the outside. Beautifully done by Gabber so far. 23.76, an enormous opening stint. Feathering the throttle, using the rear of the car to steer through that banked right-hand corner. Now back markers, slower cars jumping out of the way, using all of the curbing, avoiding the sausages. Full throttle here, wants to just avoid the curb, he does. And now another quick jab of the brakes. Use the front wheels to turn the car. He doesn't want to use the rear to get around here because he wants to keep the power down as much as possible. Wheel spin bad. On the throttle, over the crest, now all the way to the far right side of the road, late on the brakes. Missed the inside apex here to open up the second one. Rear of the car getting a little bit too far away, losing lots of time there, probably 2/10, and then a little bit late in the throttle coming over the left-hand curbing back onto the circuit, down to the left side of the road, hugging the white line once again. Avoid the kink there, he's just passed it, and now he'll keep the car nice and tight to shorten the track. Plenty of power from the V8, 19,000 RPM behind him, and does not improve 400ths off his first lap. So a little bit ragged on the way back onto the oval part of the circuit there, Pete, but still very impressive to watch Gabber, who is the class of the field so far, though not far behind him. Raphael Willer, very impressive times from him. Just a 10th or so behind Gabber right now.
Yeah, and he's just started a lap as well, so we can pick up with him as he throws his bright red BF1 into the first sector. And let's see if he can get another time on the board. No improvement, as you mentioned, from Gabor on his what would have been one of his introductory times in this session. I think he's going to go back out and really try and beat the times that he's already set. But here comes Raphael. Oh no, he's actually aborted the run in the infield, so not happy with his first sector. They are allowed to just remove themselves from the track and try again in this session, Travis. It's quite relaxed for this BF1 special.
It is, yeah, somewhat less strict than the other New Dimension Racing MRC events that we cover. I think it being a celebratory anniversary event, making it a little easier on the drivers to get out there, have fun in a challenging car, rather than forcing everyone to be so mindful of the regulations. A bit more relaxed atmosphere today. So we watch, that's John Madigan. I believe John Madigan is an Australian driver. He is indeed. So John Madigan joining from the opposite side of the world from me. 10th position right now, plenty of room to improve. 18.98, his best lap is still pretty respectable. Nice and conservative there through the first sequence of corners, using plenty of curb there on the right side of the road. Bit of the dirt. Looking very smooth so far. Late on the brakes, early entry carrying the speed, dragging the brake down to the apex. Looked really good through the right-hand corner there. John Madigan, pretty impressive. Slower cars diving out of the way. I believe that was Raphael Willer jumping off the racing line to let John Madigan through. Oh, very wide here. That'll cost him a couple tenths. Down to a very late apex. You're going to keep it pretty even through that right-hand bend. And now coming to the final corners now on the brakes. Nice and wide through the first of the left-handers, tighter to the right one. That's how it's done right there. Using plenty of curb on the right rear of the car. Very easy to upset there. A little bit ragged on the way back onto the oval, but pretty clean from John Madigan. I dare say this could be an improvement from just under minute 19. We wait for him to cross the line. Ooh, going a bit wide to the right side of the circuit. That lengthens the track unnecessarily, but wait for John Madigan to cross the line, and no improvement, though it was a pretty clean, respectable from him there in P10.
Yeah, a decent run, as we've got Willer about to start another run. Let's see if he aborts again after the first sector. It's never a good idea, really, in a warm-up session to abort a run so early. Otherwise, you tend to master the first sector, and then the second two sectors tend to suffer a little bit. But let's see, he's over the sector line now, and let's see if he can tie a lap together. He's currently been bumped down to P3. It's Imran Azar who's gone into P2 on his debut in BF1 for Sidus, Travis.
Yeah, Imran Azar just recently becoming a Sidus driver, moving from the host team, MRC, and doing the Sidus livery, the purple, the black, and white justice, jumping up above Raphael Willer just a few minutes ago into second position. Willer's attempt at pole position here, looking better than the last one he aborted. And judging by his sector times, could very well come near the top spot. While we've been talking about other drivers, Gabber did improve by a few hundredths now at minute 16.37, but plenty of pace left in that car. We know Gabber can go a lot quicker. As we watch Rafael Willer tight to the line, letting the car run a little bit wide, take off some of the steering input, and improves. There we go, just like that. Takes a couple tenths off Imran Azar and back up to the second spot. Very good lap from Rafael Willer.
Yeah, it's getting tight at the top, and rumor has it we might see Sami Litmanen. He's not in the server yet. He is, however, signed up to the event, but has yet to appear. You mentioned that you'd seen a video where Gabor and Sami were setting identical lap times, so they've been practicing together.
Yeah, and very close to one another on track. In fact, it is shared in one of the discords. I think it was in the New Dimension Racing Discord, where Sami went out, set the first sector time. Gabber a few seconds later passed the same sector with an identical sector time, and then went all the way around. And I don't recall if it was an identical lap time, but was within.
Yeah, I think we lost Travis there for a minute as Gabor comes onto another lap. So he's really not happy that he's done his best time, trying to improve as much as he can onto the oval and into the infield in a flash of an eye. This is a super quick lap, only a minute 16 to get around all 5.5 kilometers of this track. As he goes into the infield over sector 1. And he has a little bit of traffic up ahead, which always unsettles a driver on a qualifying lap. It can be helpful on other tracks to get a slipstream down the back straight, but there is no such thing here. You want everybody that is in your way to disappear miraculously so that you can get the best lap time you can into Parabolica, down to the apex, and then running out wide nicely on the exit. There is no runoff curb in the reverse direction here, so it's so easy to drop a wheel on the grass out of the Parabolica and kill some lap time. Plenty of curbing on this double left-hander into the final chicane onto the oval, and it looked like a tidy lap from Gabor. He's still committed to it, so let's see if he can improve on his 1:16.37. Again, tight to the apron, and then he will hold the car all the way over to the left-hand side and make his run as straight as possible to the start-finish line, which is there, and it is an improvement, and he goes 3 tenths quicker than anybody else with a 1:16.10. That's a remarkably quick lap time. As we now switch to Martins, the number 97, currently in P13, so definitely wants to improve from there. Let's see what he can manage as he goes for an attempt here. Current best lap time is over 3 seconds off, or just about 3 seconds off the pole time set by Gabor just now, provisional pole time. And so, yeah, he will be looking to improve on that, following in the wheel tracks of another car that's gone super wide around Parabolica and off a little bit onto the grass. You don't want to do that. That's going to affect your braking into the final complex of corners. But let's see what Martins can do on this attempt. Again, giving up a little bit of time on the entrance to the apron and very wide onto the home straight. So tightening your line around some of these corners is a quick way of gaining time. But Martins beats his personal best in the session and does a 1:18.87 to go P12 for now. Another driver who we've seen plenty of in recent Master Race Car series is Rafael Costa, the number 46, currently P4 in the session, driving in that lovely Fusion green and black livery there, and definitely on a warm-up, trying to preserve those tyres, getting a good preparation lap in for a fly-up, which we will pick up with in a moment's time. Meanwhile, Willer is gearing up for another lap. He's gone all the way around the high line into oval turn 4 and now shoots across start-finish to start another timed lap. Into turn one he comes, and super committed. Very, very tight looking line there. Some traffic up ahead that's been off the road, just rejoining. That was Pascual, who is currently in P5. A decent uptime for him as well, but still the top five separated by over a second at the moment as Willer comes up towards the Parabolica and needs to find 34 hundredths of a second and a bit more to pass Gabor in this qualifying session, Travis.
Yeah, I do apologize for the audio issues I'm having, trying to sort those out in the background. And thank you, Peter, for holding down the fort. As you said, Rafael Willer coming through final bends now, much better over the curbing there, rear of the car, well under his control as he comes down to the apron now. Wants to get as close to the white line as he can, but not over it. If he comes off the banking, that will upset the car quite badly. And nice and tight to the wall here as he comes around the kink and over the line, straight on. It's bruised by 200ths as he speared off toward the outside wall before he telepitted. So exciting moment for us, perhaps less so for him, as we watch Guillermo Morera now coming through oval turn number one to start a flying lap of his. Sorry, this is coming off turn three. Getting all of my oval turns mixed up here, Peter. I should really know better, being the American in the commentary box. As we switch to Gabber now after the aborted lap. Gabber quickly out on circuit. So we jump ahead again to Portela at the very back, or was at the very back right now. We've had one more driver join the grid, so 15 drivers setting times right now. So we pick up Portela coming into the middle of the infield, hard over the curbs at top speed, engine full song, 19,000 RPM, approaching the Parabolica. Doesn't use all the curbing on the entry, so compromising speed on the entrance to the corner ever so slightly, but looks very good. Just missing the curbing on the inside, exactly what you want to do. Gabber out of the way on the left. Actually, it could have been Imran Azar. Was Imran Azar, politely out of the way. And Portela looking very good through the double apex left-hander. Should have kept it a little bit tighter, now compromising his line through the final chicane. And a bit ragged onto the oval. He'll bring the car down to the apron, come around oval turn three to hopefully improve from minute 19.44. About 1 second from now, across the line he goes. Does not improve, still on minute 19.44, 14th position.
Yeah, we've got a few more drivers who have emerged from the shadows to join the race here. We've got Ayub El Hanouni, who's joined the server. So good to see Ayub here for this celebratory event. Of course, this is the 15th anniversary event for Master Race Car, who have provided plenty of series and plenty of action over the years. BF1 League, of course, 3 seasons so far of BF1 League. And things like their Rallycross Championship, E-Challenge, of course, GTR Monday, to name but a few. All of those series we have presented in the past. And I think Rick Rashitska would like to say a few words on behalf of his team. Ricky, welcome to the commentary box. Good to have you along.
Hello, everybody. Nice to be here.
Good stuff. 15 years of MRC. Tell us about what the kind of thought process was for this specific event. We know BF1 is close to your heart, but tell us about it.
Well, it's really a long time now. I'm alone since 12 years in MRC. And, well, it was a nice time first, a big team, great team.
Yeah, you've had a lot of different members, lots of people putting together series, of course. Tim Dicknodder with his Rallycross Championship, Michael Malik with the Challenge, and yourself with BF1 League. You've provided a lot of entertainment over the years, so it's nice to have a few people here to celebrate with us.
Yeah, it's fantastic.
Good stuff. Anything you want to say to the racers ahead of this one, Ricky?
Yes, I have long thinking what kind of format we can do for the birthday, because there's Eastland, is a GTR Monday, but I have decided to make a BF1 special and to see a great race.
Well, I'm sure we're going to have a great race. Travis?
Yeah, I know you and I think, are the biggest fans of BF1 of all the people in the community, and thrilled to see participation today. A bit slow to pick up, but now we've got drivers entering the server, and I'm watching your teammate Michael Malik right now out on circuit. can we expect to see more BF1 in the future, or are we going to focus on E-Challenge and then maybe pick up BF1 sometime later?
Maybe at the end of the year there will come a fourth season of the BF1 League, but I'm not for 100% sure now.
Well, there you go. There's a tease for the community. Start practicing now, because this
Yeah.
is the ultimate car in Live for Speed, and Ricky and I love it so much. So do it for us.
Yeah, and do it for yourself, because it's a good challenge. There is really not more of a difficult challenge in Live for Speed, and it's the ultimate car. It's provided amazing racing throughout the years. If we have sometimes struggled to get a full grid, but there's definitely an opportunity there for more people to get involved. And thank you, Ricky, for putting it on. We really appreciate it.
Yeah, you're welcome.
Yes, thank you, Ricky.
Hopefully we can catch up with you a bit later, and good luck with the event. We look forward to it.
Thanks and enjoy.
Thanks very much. We've got Dennis Lind in the commentary box now, who has made some noises about maybe being a pit lane reporter, although I don't see him in the server. Dennis, welcome along.
Thank you, sir.
MRC, 15 years. You've been around the block. They've done a lot for Live for Speed, and it's nice that they're putting this event on.
Yeah, it's absolutely fantastic. I was one of the few that was playing when they actually came along, so I remember sort of their early start. So it's good to see they're still about. One of the oldest teams in Live for Speed now, I would say.
Yeah, for sure.
Dennis, we know.
Yeah, go for it, Travis.
Oh, go ahead, Peter.
No, it's all right. After you.
I was going to say, we know you enjoy the BF1, Dennis, not racing today, and I'll assume that comes down to other commitments, but one of the more memorable instances, one of the more memorable events in BF1 for me was you turning up for the first round of the previous BF1 season, sight unseen, because as I recall you put it, you saw there was a race that morning and decided to join, and then went pretty quick into BF1 car. So I guess tell us a little bit about your history, your past, your experience racing BF1 and Live for Speed.
I think that's the only race I've ever driven, the BF1. It's not really been my
You're
cup of
kidding,
tea.
right?
No, that was my first ever race in BF1. I did a day of practice, I think, because Alan Terzic and we decided to do the race, and it was literally just rock up and then do it. There was a bit of strategy gone into it, and I think the strategy, because I went a bit bold on my tire strategy, but that was what saved me in the end. I don't exactly remember where I finished up, but I reckon it was pretty good for a debut.
I believe you were scratching at the podium in the late race, and then a couple incidents. I think you ended up 4th or 5th after a shuffle. But either way, we were all stunned when you came into the commentary box afterward and said, "Yeah, I felt like racing this morning," and there was BF1. So, and I believe Alan said something to the same effect, that there was a race on, so why not? And then you properly dazzled us in the most difficult car to drive in this game.
Yeah, it's a good car. I think it takes some getting used to, like the likes of Gabor and Lidman. They're obviously experts in this, and also Imran Massar, good drivers in this that I know of. So it was hard to sort of just rock up and try to be competitive with them, because I knew that was not going to happen. So it was more a sense of sort of try to beat them on something that I know, which is strategy with this particular format.
Yeah. Since we're talking about all things MRC, GT2 Challenge tomorrow, you turned up a couple weeks ago and had a pretty good event, finished well up the order. Will we see you tomorrow?
Yes, you will. Yes, you will. I've done my pre-qualifying lap, so I don't have to hot lap anymore before qualifying, so that's out of the way. And I think we're looking pretty strong for this event. I've been putting in some hours. I did about 1,200 kilometers of driving in one day 2 days ago, just to finalize setups and all that. So we're getting somewhere.
And since you're one of the better known Live for Speed drivers who has a professional racing career, and I don't know that we've had a chance to talk to you recently, what's on the schedule in real life this year, Dennis?
Oh, it's a tough question, because there is absolutely nothing going on at the minute. It's a bit weird what's going on with this whole hypercar muscle, because in the process they've sort of removed 60 or so seats from professional. So that makes it a bit more sort of difficult to disclose exactly what's going to happen because I'm not sure myself.
No worries, and I did not realize I was bringing up such a touchy subject, so I'm sorry for that. I hope something interesting does turn up because it is so great to talk to you after you've come off a race weekend and then pop in the car and live for speed, and give us a show in the virtual world. We're thrilled to have you here with us, and we just love talking to you, Dennis.
But hey, it's just give me more time to do more sim racing, so
Exactly.
that's a good thing, right?
Yeah, I don't know if you were asking ironically about doing pit lane reporting, but you're very welcome to stick around.
I was serious.
Oh, fair enough. There we go then. So Dennis Lind will be, well, giving us some insight from the pit lane. He is in the server now. Chris has given him the password, so all good. We do have Chris McElroy in the background today. He normally gives us the spiel, Dennis, but I'm sure he's less willing to get on the microphone sometimes. So it'd be good to have some pit lane reporting going on. Travis, the session's changed a little bit since we got chatting to Dennis, but at the top seems pretty stable. Willer is gradually improving his lap times.
He is. Really, really impressive times out of him, actually, because we've seen him in, I think he was new in the 3rd season of BF1. Well, my memory isn't this good, so he very well could have been around for the 2nd season, and I just don't remember it. But I remember him essentially putting in the time and just putting in the laps and gradually, turning up further up the order every time he got in the virtual race car. And now here he is very close to the top, chasing Gabber, which is no small feat at all. He's only 2.5 tenths off. He's been trading times with Imran. Imran was up there in P2 for a couple minutes before Raphael Willer took the spot, and Imran Hazar has improved his time recently, while Raphael has also been improving his own times. So really impressive show from him. Notably, Rafael Costa looked like in practice before the qualifying session started that he was struggling on qualifying pace, and now he's right there near the top. The number 46 machine in P4, only half a second off the top spot, a little more than half a second off the top spot. So very impressive times in the top 4, in the 16s, and certainly in the lower end of the 16s is very impressive pace indeed. So it may be a little closer than we anticipated near the top of the order. I think we've certainly expected that Gabber would be the class of the field, but he has a few drivers not far behind him at all. While we wait to see if Sami Litmanen turns up and sets times, 13 minutes remaining, so plenty of time for him to get in and set a couple competitive laps, but it will run out eventually, and we will have to get to a race, Pete.
Yeah, before that happens, we've got more members of the MRC team coming to say hello to us. We've got Happy D in the server, in the TeamSpeak server now. Happy D, how you doing? Long-time MRC member. We are here to celebrate your team, 15 years of its history. Welcome to the booth. How you doing?
Hello there. Doing pretty good.
Yeah. You're not racing in this event, actually. You're joining NDR with their stewarding efforts. So tell us about that and your involvement in this event.
Yeah, I mean, the whole 15 years, and the BF1 is a really amazing car. Like I said, I did that one Aston round, and yeah, it was just a blast, and looks like it's going to be a really good event here. We have a lot of good players like Gabber, Willer, Costa, etc. Looking forward to it.
So you've shown some pace in the BF1 car in the past. You showed me around in the BF1 car, for that matter. The Singapore Grand Prix in season 3. I got in, did some practice. We ended up being short the grid, so I joined and commentated from the car. And I spent a lot of time chasing you around. So you're quick in this car. Why no racing today? Are you just enjoying being a spectator?
That is correct. Like I said, going back to the Aston Grand Prix, to this car, I really have no experience. The person that helped me a ton was Costa. He's really good, and a lot of tips went into it. I had messed myself up in the first safety car, and it was a pretty exciting comeback. It was a lot of fun.
Well, even if you're not in the car, we are thrilled to have your patronage and have companionship here in the commentary box. So we hope you enjoy the race. We know we certainly will. And thanks for popping in to say hi.
Thank you as well. Looking forward to it. Have a good one.
Catch you later. Thanks for the chat, and yeah, plenty of history in the MRC team. Lots of drivers who have put in a lot of years and a lot of effort to make these events what they are. So thanks, Happy D. We'll catch up with you later. Travis, it's getting to the sharp end now. We've got 10 minutes in the session. Willer is still out there pushing for a lap time. No Sammy yet, so there's still time. I hope he turns up, honestly.
I do too, but Rafael Willer is impressing me immensely. Imran is as well. Imran always so quick. Very, very impressive driver in E-Challenge. So looking forward to seeing more of Imran later this year when we kick off another season of the E-Challenge, but also very handy in the BF1 car. Rafael Costa improved ever so slightly, and I think we may have missed it. But he's still there, pounding around near the top, trying to improve. Rafael Willer was on a quick lap that he has just aborted, and now we pick up Gabber for what will be one of his final attempts. There you can see the inlay. That will be the onboard view from Gabber. I believe that's from his stream. You can see the red dot next to his Twitch handle. So if you would like to follow Gabber directly, he is live on Twitch at Sidus Gabber. Go check out his stream, give him a follow, give him a subscribe if you like, and we'll pick him up coming across the start-finish line. Now, Gabber looking for world record pace. He's not that far off it. Into oval turn 1 now, tight down to the white line once again. He'll bring the car gently out to the right side of the racetrack, very close to the wall, jab the brakes, throw the car in, touch the curb, just easing out of the throttle, hard over the right side curbing, and then over down to the left, banking left-hand corner. Gabber perfect through there, using the rear of the car to get the power down early. Nice early entry here, using trail braking, as tight to the curb as he can in the right-hander. Now over these very fast kinks, shortening the track as much as he possibly can. Slower car ahead, should jump out of the way, does. Very fast. You can see the slip angle on this car from this overhead shot, using the rear as much as he possibly can, trying to get the power down early, middle of the corner. And here we go, tricky braking, using the rear of the car to come around and tight on the second apex, and now hard over the curbs here, full throttle at this point, all the way out to the wall, just misses brushing it. Early power down to pit lane. Apparently good enough for us to call it, but not good enough for him to keep it. And he will practice pit lane entry. You can see it was just on the right side of the racetrack. There is a cone that the organizers have put for the drivers to use as a visual aid before you need to slow down for the pit lane entry line, 80 kilometers per hour in pit lane. And Gabber has been braking just after those cones and nailing the pit lane entry. He is so late and so confident on the brakes. As now, Pete, we pick up Rafael Costa, who I believe is finishing a lap now. He is about 1 minute on the clock on this lap as he comes through the final chicane and onto the oval part of the circuit one more time.
Yeah, let's see what he can manage. Spooling up the screaming V8, and across start finish he's going to come. Is he going to improve? Not long left in this session. He doesn't improve his position, and is, well, actually the final car underneath the 117. He did set an LFS World PB there. So yeah, he's not leaving anything on the table. He's improving on his own best times. Yeah, he is. So getting quicker by his own benchmark, but not enough to go any further up the order than Imran Azar, who we are looking at now as he winds up the car. Ooh, the rear of the car stepping out between the halves of the chicane there, but stays up the race. Oh, he chooses to come down the racetrack here. Interesting. He's starting a flying lap, I believe, so I'm not sure why he's not using the widest part of the circuit to carry more speed, but I dare say Imran Azar knows. Well, he's aborted. I was going to say he knows more about racing a BF1 car than I do, so maybe he knows something that I don't. Portugal in 10th position. Respectable effort from him. 17.89 is no slouch of a time at all. Plenty of respect to the grass on the left side of the circuit there, as he comes down to the braking area now, a little bit wide of the first apex, as you want to do. Nice and tight on the second one, avoiding the curb and upsetting the rear of the car. Plenty of space for the entry. Looked really good through the first half of that chicane, and then the rear of the car stepping out a little bit before he got over the curbing on the exit.
but still pretty clean and smooth from him. Tight to the line, and now on his way to start finish to hopefully improve from 10th, crossing the line now. And he does not appear to have improved. He has not. Still on 17.89, about 1.8 seconds off the lead. Johnny SVK, for those who do not know his name by Dwight Rochegall. So we pick up Pasquale, who has improved, I believe, up to 5th position, and we may have missed it. Someone. Well, no. I think he's been there, and Ayub has set an identical time, but he set it after Pasquale did, so not able to improve. Impressive minute 17.17 from Ayub, but not good enough to take 5th position as he winds up to set another fast lap.
Yeah, a latecomer to the session, so just trying to see where he can go. But Ayub, clearly experienced in the BF1 to have put it firmly in the top half of the grid here for qualifying. 5 minutes to go. All the drivers are going to start to sweat. Where are they going to end up lining up on the grid? Can anybody get any closer to Gabber there? He's got 26 hundredths of a second advantage over anybody else at the moment. Willer is slowly creeping closer, but Gabber's just so good over a single lap that he is essentially untouchable unless someone joins the session. But there we go. 16 cars so far in qualifying as Ayub comes out of the final corner to wind up for another lap here, Travis.
Yeah, Ayub starting a flying lap now. Gabber and Rafael Willer had just come out of the pits a few seconds ago, so they'll be about halfway around the circuit now, starting flying laps in a few moments after Ayub does. Ayub across the line down to the apron now. I think the trickiest part of going around the Kyoto ring this direction is this corner right here, because you want to give a hard jab of the brakes to slow the car down enough that it grips in the middle of that corner, and then you want to kind of coast in because it tightens up a little bit, and then you want to line up for the curbing on the right side of the road. You want to straight line it so that you can straight line the braking for the left-hander. So far, pretty clean looking from Ayub, though his split time is only a 24.2, so unless he finds gobs of time in the middle sector and then a good exit onto the oval, I don't know that he's going to improve much over where he is now. Good entry into the Parabolica, a little bit wide in the middle, but tightens it up on the exit. Plenty of respect to the grass there. You can lose a lot of time just by putting a wheel off in the grass. Now, hard jab of the brakes, doesn't open up the corner as much as he could on the entry curbing, and tight on the first apex, but nice and clean on the second apex, uses a ton of curb on the right side and then the left, so he's straightened out the final exit onto the oval as much as he could. Nice shot looking down low as Ayub sails by into the camera and then out through the banking, and now tight against the wall to come across the line. Now, minute 17.05 is where he will stay. Oh, no, sorry, 17.05 is an improvement, so he just jumps ahead of Pasquale. And if we look back, we should have Gabber and Rafael Willer coming through the middle part of the... Oh, Gabber must have aborted, and I see Rafael Willer exiting the pits, so both of them were on flying laps behind. We're behind Ayub El-Anouni, and they both aborted.
Yeah, now we've got Vitor starting a lap, very experienced again in the BF1, and is running. I think is that the new RB livery?
Yeah, it looks like it does look like a Racing Bulls livery. I agree. It is exactly a Racing Bulls livery. Nice and clean through the first few corners, and as I said, that carries way too much speed into the left-hand corner. I believe that's turn 4. Where now Gabber is slowly trundling around, avoiding putting too much heat in the tires. So Gabber on an outlap now, as is Rafael Willer was on an outlap and off in the grass trying to get out of the way of back markers. So I think Rafael Willer, Gabber behind this man, a Christian, at the back of the grid right now. Rafael Willer and Gabber will have one more flying lap in them. So all for them to do now. Christian does not improve, as you just said in my ear, Pete. And here we go. Gabber coming round now to the final corners. Chase view from Gabber. Not in turn. I think he's so. I'm sure we've mentioned this a few times in the past, and if we've not said it explicitly, I'm sure plenty of people have picked up on this. That Gabber is a comedian as much as he is a talented driver. And you can catch him in moments like that, switching views or tabbing around. I've actually seen him tabbing around and watching other cars go around the circuit while he is racing. He did this in the GT2 Challenge race last weekend, where he wanted to know where one of his competitors was, so he just tabbed ahead while he was going down the main straightaway. The man is a lunatic, but he's also very fast. For the final time in this qualifying session, Gabber down to the apron, all over that white line. And the man who is famously late on the brakes, quick jab, full commitment to the first left-hand corner. Very clean through here. Early on the power, a little bit of a correction as the rear tries to step away from him. That is a 23.89 or 80. Hard for me to read. Either way, respectable split time. Ooh, rear of the car getting away from him on the way out of the right-hander. That'll cost him maybe a few hundredths, could be a tenth, using all of the curbing here through these kinks. And now into the parabolica, very clean. Rear of the car well under control there. You can see him dancing on the edge of adhesion. Tiny inputs using the rear of the car to get around. And now late on the brakes here. Hard on the brake, just misses, leaves a half a car width to the first apex, tight on the second one, and now full throttle through the curves, plenty of right-hand curb, all of the left-hand curb, and more out to the wall, millimeters of space. And Gabber, I know he's listening. He's already got pole position, so he's teasing us all the way around the circuit before he locks up the brakes into pit lane. He knows he's already done it. He stops at the line. And you know what really frosts me, Peter, is he's listening and trolling us, and he won't come into the commentary box for an interview. Unbelievable.
He could have finished the lap to finish that beautiful
lap. He knows
beautifully
exactly what he's
commentated
doing.
lap there.
Ugh.
Dennis Lind in our ears actually there, calling that Team Soini is about to finish a lap. But yeah, the qualifying session actually finished during that as well, Travis. So we couldn't even get him across the line at the end, as Soini comes to the line and does not improve. P9 for him, and Moira will be the
still a
last
respectable time. And
Yeah,
speaking
oh,
of respect, we owe much more to Dennis for picking up cars and giving us the call in our ears than we do Gabber, who cannot give us the satisfaction of letting us commentate a complete lap. He set pole position probably 20 minutes ago and throws in the towel when he knows he's not going to improve. So there we go. We guessed, Pete, that we could see Gabber challenge world record times in this session, and he's not too far off. No world record set today, but still on pole position, as we might have guessed, on a minute 16.1. But how about Raphael Willer, just 2 tenths and change behind in second position, and then Imran Azar, Rafael Costa rounding out third and fourth position with Ayub and Pasquale not too far behind. Not much time separating the top of the order, top 5 within 1 second of each other, which I think is mighty good in the BF1 car.
Yeah, so there we are. Qualifying is a wrap. Gabor gets pole position with Willer in P2, Imran Azar in P3, Rafael Costa in P4, with El Hanouni, Pasquale, Vitor Moreira, Soini, and Rotegal the top 10. And then 6 cars on the right-hand side there. Portela, Celestino, Martins, Malek, Madigan, and Christian are your 16 starters for the MRC BF1 special, celebrating 15 years of MRC. Travis, we've got a good race on our hands here. Gabor cannot be allowed to run away with this one, as I'm sure plenty of the viewers will be thinking. So what can anyone else do? I mean, what is it? It's gonna have to come down to some smart strategy calls and potentially some good calls behind the safety car. We're going to have safety cars here today, probably, if anybody gets stuck. So safety car strategy could come into play.
Yeah, safety car could come into play. You're absolutely right, and that always, every time we've seen a safety car, it adds a new dimension, a complication to the race. So certainly could be a factor. I think for the drivers who are following Gabor into the first corner, all they can do is they have to concentrate so intensely. They have to be so good, so near perfect lap after lap, because Gabber is. He will set his first lap on cold tires, and he will set his second lap a little bit quicker, and he will go a few hundredths quicker every lap until he has to take service, and he will do that until the very end of the race. But he is not infallible. We have seen him make mistakes, and I think in one instance we've seen himself cost himself a race victory when he makes mistakes. They are so rare, but they do happen. So for Rafael Willer, for Imran Azar, for Ayub, for Rafael Costa, they need to be there They need to be within striking distance to take advantage if Gabber makes a mistake. Or, some of these drivers, none of them are slow by any stretch. We know Ayub El-Anouni is a race winner in BF1 League, so he certainly has the pace, the commitment, the talent to win. So if they're strong and they're consistent, they have a chance.
We also have to remember that the rundown to T1 here is quite long. So traditionally, starting P1 here is not perfect. In my experience, P4, P5 can actually end up being P1 before you arrive at the, let's say, track turn 1. Infield turn 1, that is.
That's a good call. I mean, starting on the front row is not an advantage here. You have to get a really good launch, and obviously you can see that there's a lot of road before you arrive at turn 1. Imran Azar's got a decent shout here because, starting on row 2 behind Willer and Gabor, he's going to have a heck of a tow if he gets a good launch.
Yeah, heck of a tow in a lot of traffic, and that only punches a bigger hole in the air. So a brave driver from a little bit further back, maybe your teammate, Dennis. I'm curious what you make of Ayub's chances. Someone from further back could make an aggressive move and set the tone of the race early.
Yep, absolutely. Yeah, like I said, I think row 2, row 3 is probably ideal for an attack into turn 1. If you're starting on pole here, you're a bit of a sitting duck. So yeah, we're definitely going to see if they want to challenge Gabber, it's definitely going to be on lap 1, because if he's allowed to get away, he's definitely going to try to extend. It's a very, very hard track to follow with this amount of downforce on.
In the background, Dennis asked a very good question, and we can talk about that now. Another complicating factor, another element of this kind of racing, is drivers are compelled to use 2 compounds. Gabber, we know he is, not only is he quick, but he's also famously good at taking care of tires. These cars very challenging on R4s, perhaps more challenging on R2s. Which way would you go, Dennis? R3, obviously the tire of choice for most of the race, but then what do you do when you need to go to the alternate?
Well, what I did in West Hill was that I started on R4s, because I know when the car is super heavy, obviously you don't want long pit stops ever. So you start the car on full fuel, and that's most of the time too much for the R3s to handle. So what I did was to start on R4s, because I knew it was enough for the heat, and you just run them until it was not sufficient anymore, and then go to the other compound. So that was the call. I think safe obviously is just starting on R3 and cruise away, but an alternate strategy starting on the slower tires is viable if you manage to get out ahead.
We've had a member and a participant, a driver in this event, join the commentary box. Michael Malik, since you'll be driving in this event, do you care to divulge your strategy? Any insights you may have that corroborate or contradict what Dennis and I have been talking about?
Good evening, guys. I hope you can hear me well. Well, my strategy, as you did notice, I'm starting the race with R4 tires, and my strategy could be summed up as I have no idea what I'm doing, so that's the plan. And the main idea is that if you don't know what will happen, neither your opponents will. So, yeah.
Well, I think we politely and humbly request then that you make Dennis look like an absolute genius. Send it on R4s and then get into the pits.
Well, I'm hoping for some safety cars so I can get rid of R4s and jump to the fresh R3s. Otherwise, if there wasn't for the mandatory 2 compound rules, I would go with R3s, of course.
Do you think R2 is viable at all for any of the drivers, or do you think the alternate strategy is to go R4 for the shortest distance possible?
Well, I think R2 tires are viable for a single lap, basically, so if you start on them, you have to pit on lap 1, and also you can pit on the last occasion and jump to R2s, but either way, I think this is somewhat more flexible strategy.
Fair enough. And now we look forward to the race because we have drivers doing the briefing in the background. Should see them readying up in just a minute. What do you make of your chances here? You're a little bit further down the grid, but you've raced BF1 plenty of times in the past. We know you have some pace. We talked about consistency being so important because the car is so challenging to drive. How are you feeling going into a 2-hour event in the BF1 car?
Well, my main goal is to pretty much survive the race because I had very little practice, and the fact that I'm at the back of the grid pretty much proves my point. So I will just try to make it to the finish and enjoy this exciting celebration of 15 years in Master Race car.
Brilliant stuff. We talked a little bit about this in the pre-show, Michael, that MRC have put together a lot of different events over the years, not just BF1, of course, and we want to thank you, of course, for putting on so many seasons of E-Challenge, and we know that you want to run another one. We all want to see that happening, but yeah, just thank you very much, and 15 years is a massive milestone for the team, and the team is only as good as the people in it, and you've contributed a massive amount to the racing scene in LFS, with quite a novel championship. A lot of effort went into it, and hopefully we see it back soon.
Yeah, it's great to see Master Race Car celebrating 15 years, and for me especially, since I'm in this team for 12 years already. I think I'm one of the longest standing members. So yeah, it's just an amazing part of my life, and I'm really grateful that I could be part of this team for so long, and I hope we can stay alive and along for quite some time. And I'm also looking forward to another season of E-Challenge, which should happen soon.
Soon, trademark. All right, thanks, Michael.
Yeah.
We hope that comes soon. But yeah, we thank you very much, and good luck in the race.
Thank you. Have fun.
I hope you do as well. I hope you have fun. We're going to have fun. We're guaranteed to have fun here. There's not much pressure on us. There's plenty of pressure on you. So see you in a bit.
You can mock me.
Exactly. Travis, Michael, looking forward to it. I think he is what I can glean from that. And we do have drivers on the server, but I think the driver briefing is still happening, so we are about 5 minutes away from green light action here.
Yeah, one of the things I enjoy in particular about BF1 League is, everyone in the MRC team is fantastic, but when BF1 starts to kind of pick up and people get excited about it, as we have drivers readying up in the background, so maybe we'll get going a little bit sooner than 5 minutes. One of the things I really enjoy about talking to Michael and Ricky in particular is how excited they get about BF1, and they send me all the screenshots and they ask me about the plans. And I think before every season, Ricky has asked me if I'm going to commentate, and I always say, hell yes, of course I will. These guys, they love MRC, they put on a great show, and they love BF1, and it's always a thrill to get a message from one of them about the BF1 car and organized BMW Sauber F1 racing, because it is so much fun.
Yeah, it's just Michael Malik we're waiting for in the background for the start. I believe we're going to get a formation lap, and then we will be green flag racing. So looking forward to this. 59 laps around Kyoto Ring National Reversed.
And Michael has readied up. Perhaps he was being chastised for missing the driver's briefing to talk to us instead.
Possibly.
Here's our call to him that he can appeal to the organizers to get our excuse for him, since he was conducting important business here in the commentary box. But here we have cars on the grid. Ayub requesting permission to chat as the lights come up. Rescue cars at the back of the grid, green lights on. Gabber leading them away for the formation lap, and cleanly away behind him. Didn't see any message from Ayub yet. He asked for permission to chat, but he hasn't received it nor said anything yet, so not sure what's going on there. Dennis, unless you're a wizard, I assume you're not in any kind of communication with your teammate while you're here in the commentary box with us, so I guess we just have to wait and see what's going on with Ayub.
I use telekinetic powers with Ayub. He has not tried to reach me yet, so he's on his own. Nothing new. It looks like he's on R3 compound. The only one who really stands out right now in the top 5 is Imran Massar on R4s, actually. So he's going for the Hail Mary, I'd say.
I didn't intend for that to sound like a completely stupid question because we do have some drivers who hang out in 2 voice chats at once. Yeah, underway as you said. So apparently no worse for wear. Nothing so challenging that he couldn't roll away from the grid. So 16 drivers out on circuit now doing the formation lap. Gabber leads them from Rafael Willer. Starting third will be Imran Azar ahead of Rafael Costa, then Ayub El-Anouni in 5th position. Pascal in the number 8 machine will start 6th ahead of Pedro, Vitor, Guilherme Moreira, Timu Soini behind them, and Rotrigal rounding out the top 10. Behind them, we will have Portela, Martins, Celestino, Michael Malik starting in 14th position, and then in 15th, the Australian John Madigan ahead of Christian, Polish driver, in 16th position. 3 rescue cars out on the circuit. One of them will take up the grid behind these cars when they roll away. As we have Gabber taking up his grid position now. The first 4 cars approaching their spots on the grid as the rest of the cars filter in behind. Everybody cleanly through. No drama on the formation lap, fortunately. Occasionally that does happen. We see the final cars coming around oval turn 3 now to take up their grid positions in just a few seconds' time. The lights will come up, and these cars will be away from the standing start, screaming into the first corner. 19,000 RPM V8 Formula One engines. Rick Rashitska bringing up the rear of the grid now in the RB4 rescue car, just a few seconds away from rolling off. The 15th anniversary event for the MRC team, 15th anniversary BF1 event. Lights should be turning back red any second now. Waiting for the change. Here we go. Lights up. Waiting for the first red light. There's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 red lights. We wait for them to go out as Gabber will lead them away now. Green flag. Cars away from the line. Gabber leads Imran Azar to Sidus Machines line astern. Great start by Rafael Willer on the inside of Imran Azar. Takes up second position in the slipstream. Chooses to go out to the outside. Rafael Willer looking to the outside of Gabber into turn 1. Gives the position to Imran Azar. Teammates nose to tail coming into the first corner. 3 wide. Gabber now has first corner. Rafael Willer does manage to slip in between the 2 teammates, Imran Azar and Gabber. Cars side by side coming through the first corner behind them, but everyone cleanly through so far. So Costa has El-Anouni, so Ayub El-Anouni, Dennis's teammate in the Born to Race machine, about a second off the lead, has come into 4th position, up from 5th. Now Gabber leading Rafael Willer, Imran Azar, Ayub El-Anouni, Rafael Costa, Pedro Vitor, Rotigal up a couple positions, Christian up a couple of positions as well in the background. Christian is up a number of positions from the start of the race, up a lot of positions actually from the start of the race, so we need to go back and see what happened there. But Gabber leading the cars out of the final corners now. Rafael Willer has lost a little bit of time to Gabber and has mirrors full of Imran Azar as they come back onto the oval. But everyone cleanly through the first lap. Imran Azar just inside slipstream range as Rafael Costa has Pedro Vitor right behind him in that Racing Bulls livery car. Ton of slipstream for Pedro Vitor. Lots of overspeed coming into the kink on the start-finish straight, which leaves him vulnerable. Now being passed by Ricardo Costa coming into oval turn 1 now, as Imran Azar was challenging Rafael Willer. Nearly loses the position.
Yeah, Ayub almost making up the place there. Azar sticking in P3 at the moment. I thought those 2 would be able to catch up to Willer more than they actually did there, but let's see what they can do on the infield as we soak up lap 2 here. Azar will be trying his best to catch up to Willer because he knows that if Ayub gets close, he's going to get through instead. And I think Azar is doing just that. As we go through Parabolica, needs to be careful not to get too close to the back of Willer. This is dream territory for Gabor because he is absolutely off in the distance already. Remember, it's impossible to call the strategy this early, but let's see if Azar can get out of the final corner and get that slipstream off the back of Willer. No, I think he's actually close enough there. I think he's going to have it easily, and I think Ayub is dropping back a long way. Here goes Azar to the inside on Willer, over start finish, and well, maybe he's gone a bit early because Willer will be able to get the slipstream back. Azar goes defensive on the inside, but can Willer get back before turn 1. Azar will continue to defend, surely. Yeah, no, Willer can't do anything from this position. And Imran Azar is up to P2. Sniff that we thought Willer might have gone back for that one, but he's decided to call it a day and may have to defend from Ayub again pretty quickly. So plenty of action. The drivers have all pretty much seen the back and the front of the cars around them. Plenty of swapping and changing in the opening laps of this one. But it is Gabor who leads from Imran Azar as we start to tick down the laps. But yeah, it's not a big lead that he has at the moment, just 2 seconds. But we do have a back marker that's getting in the way. Dennis, pretty intense start.
I would say so. We had a bit of a pile up in turn 1, 5 or 6 cars involved actually. So that was why we had a bit of a split in the grid, and Christian made up all those positions. But at the moment, we're actually seeing that Imran is slightly catching Gabber. He is on the R4 compound, and Gabber now is already going through a bit of a heat peak. Like we spoke about earlier, this car is very heavy on fuel as to start with, so sometimes the R4 can actually be the compound to choose for the long stints. They need 120 liters, I think, for this race to complete it. So it's a super heavy car, overfilled, and you need a pit stop where you do some refueling. So R4 at the moment seems like the tires to be on.
Cool, thanks for that, Dennis. Yeah, absolutely great insight. And well, we have to assume that Gabber and Imran are on relatively similar strategies then. But at this moment in time, Azar holds the fastest lap and is seems to be gaining now that he's settled down into a rhythm with his pace. Obviously, qualifying isn't the race. He qualified for him out of position and is now catching up to his teammate in that purple, yellow, and white Sidus livery. It's good. It's cool to see. I mean, he's clearly, for him, made a good decision. He's racing at the front with his new teammate and has taken another half a second out of Gabor on this lap alone. The gap almost, in fact, it's already down to under a second. He's absolutely flying, Dennis.
Yeah, absolutely. His lap times are much quicker than Gabber right now, and we are not too far from the attack zone. 3-4 tenths more and he's in the slipstream. One thing that's very difficult here that we also touched on a bit early on is that this track is very hard to follow on in the infield. The speed is super high for the BF1, so staying close behind is difficult, and also it heats up your tires a lot. So he wants to get past Gabor as quickly as he can.
He will probably do that at this rate, 0.65, as we've got 2 cars trundling their way into pit lane very early, very, very early in this race. Moreira in, as well as Pascual, as they take up their pit boxes. But here is the situation at the front. Gabor is already under pressure from Imran Azar. We didn't know that this was going to be a thing. Imran clearly just doesn't have the pace on one lap in qualifying. But here we go. There is a fight on now at the front between Sidus teammates. And he's definitely in strike distance now. As Willer has actually gone off the track, he's dropping down as we watch the change for the lead. Will these two work together, I wonder? I don't know. But Willer has had an incident. He's now down to P6. He's been in the gravel and has managed to get his way out. But Azar now leads ahead of Gabor, as that's Moreira leaving the pit lane. Pascual actually had a quicker pit stop. He's just up ahead of Gabor and Imran. There he is. So he'll get blue flags in a moment's time. But it is Imran Azar, after all of that swapping on the home straight, who leads into turn 1 on lap 6.
I will once again apologize to everyone for my audio issues. I think I've sorted it for the time being, and I will thank Dennis for being in the commentary box with us and helping fill in. Dennis, I don't know that you anticipated this being your commentary debut with my technical difficulties, but thank you very much for being here. Notably, Imran Azar on R4s. Gabber, I think, going through the heat peak of his tires right now before they get into the optimal range, while Imran going very well on R4s to start the race. So different strategies from the Sidus teammates.
Yeah, for sure. As Gabor is, well, left questioning whether he made the right call. He is going to lose a lot of time behind Imran here.
Actually, just looking at sector times, also Ayub is catching Gabor at this time. Ayub is on R3s, and I'm just thinking maybe Gabor has gone a bit too aggressive on his pressures. Maybe it can happen that you mix up the tire pressures for R4 compounds and R3, and it does look like he started on a bit too low for his liking. His tires are very overheated, it looks like.
Yeah,
Oh,
also
my.
kind of uncharacteristic condition of these tires for Gabber too, because he's known for driving so well with the rear of the car, like very small steering movements. He uses the power to get the car around the corner, but appears he is somewhat more front limited than he normally would be. They're coming down now, but when I picked him up a minute ago, the front temperatures looking quite hot, whereas I would expect the rears to be a fair bit hotter than his fronts. But I think you may be right, Dennis, that he's gone a bit aggressive with tire configuration and is paying for it now.
Yeah, as we watch from Gabor's onboard there, we've got a battle with Ayub. In fact, I think he's making his way through back markers. Yeah, getting through there. And up to P3 now. He's being chased by Costa. Pretty close there as well. Willer, recovering some places after his excursion through the gravel on the infield a few laps ago, is catching up to Pedro Vitor. So let's keep an eye on these two. They're probably going to have a change of position somewhere. Just looking at Imran's tyres, if he keeps these tyres on for the whole stint, I think he's going to have the opposite problem to Gabor. His tyres are going to be very cold by the time he comes into the pits.
Yeah, they're working well now, but the internal temperature, like the pressures of the inside of the tire having come up and kind of evened out the temperatures all throughout the tire, that's what you want to see. And the sidewalls, the interior temperatures of his tires are not there. So while the surfaces are working well for him and he has the pace right now, they will fall off. He needs to stress the tires as much as he can without putting so much friction into them that he's losing time. But right now, it is working very well for him. His sector times are good. His race pace is fantastic. He's in the low 18s. When Gabber was on circuit in the practice session before qualifying, he was doing mid-high 18s. So impressive pace for Imran Azar that is working for now, but I agree that it could go away from him. The strategy call here will be very carefully picking the optimal moment to come in and jump onto R3s.
Yeah, we're watching Willer here, the number 11. He's not really gained all that much on Pedro Vitor on this lap, so possibly has some work to do to try and make that move. But I'm just looking here at the gap between Gabor and Imran Azar. It's almost 4 seconds, and the first stint on these tyres is supposed to be quite long. So if he can keep stretching this gap, Gabor might realistically be in trouble from his new teammate.
That would be very surprising to me. I don't think it's out of the question, but I would be very surprised to see Imran just kind of walk away from Gabber here. Question for you, Dennis: What do you do? How aggressively can you go with the suspension configuration, with the pressures in the tire to make R4s work best? Because obviously, if you take too much pressure out, then you're just putting friction in and slowing yourself down. How has Imran made these R4s work as well as he has?
I think it's just down to the way the car is. Like we spoke about, it's very heavy on well, relatively very heavy on full tank of fuel. It has a lot of downforce, so you have a lot of force going into the tires, so they do stay warm. The suspension on the F1 car here is quite weak, so they can't be jumping curbs too much, but it's not really going to be a problem here. But yeah, like the R4s work at the moment, it seems. It's a pretty abrasive track, to my knowledge, and they are working pretty much all the time, either from camber load on the oval or fairly high speed corners all the way throughout the infield.
I'm not sure. I think you've knocked Travis out. I don't know if that answered his question, but we will find out hopefully very soon. Good insight there. But yeah, Azar is now 5 seconds ahead. So Travis didn't think that he was going to be allowed to walk away with this. I think we might be able to be seeing the answers to that on our screens right now because he's in the pit.
Yeah,
lane.
there you go.
Yeah.
I think that's a bad call. To be honest. I was expecting him to pit around lap 25 on this tire. Should be fine for him. But he might know more than me, obviously.
Yeah, but that does seem like a pretty short stint, just 10 laps on his R4s, but maybe it's fuel limited. Who knows? I mean, why? Not sure why he would be in. Could have been low fuel pace potentially. Like I said, we don't know the strategy of the drivers. We have to sort of make it up as we go along. But he's moving again, and he's going to be coming out probably in P8 at this point. There's a big gap he's about to emerge into. He might even lose out to P9 here. So no, in fact, he is going to be in P9.
Timu Soini went through, saw Rafael Willer fly by just as he was getting going, and he's going to lose this position to Michael Malik. Yeah, Michael Malik goes by, so Imran Azar pretty well down the order. Now he just needs to set a blistering pace on R3s. I doubt Dennis, is that his only stop? Does he go the distance on fuel and R3s, or does he?
Yeah, it does look like that. I had a little bit of help here from our other guy behind the scene, just to check the pit time. It was 13.5, and that is around 20% or 25% plus tires, which is what you need to do this race. It's about 120% for the whole thing. So yeah, it did seem like at least the last fuel stop. I'm not sure if the tires can complete it, but we will see.
Timo Estonia here has a slipstream on the number 95, who's made a mistake, hit the wall, and Soini's going through. We've got a race control message on the screen about no further action for an incident at the start, but now Soini behind Patella again. So these two trading places.
Yeah, the race control messages all addressing the schmozzle that Dennis identified a few minutes ago, where a number of cars collected one another in the first corner and everyone absolved of responsibility. Seems as though it was considered a racing incident, so everyone on their way, some a bit worse for wear, as Imran Azar is struggling to get through Michael Malik. Michael Malik certainly not obligated to get out of Imran's way. The former teammates nose to tail now. Is there some bitterness here in Michael Malik's helmet? Probably not.
Well, I mean, you say it, but Michael has cost his Azar time. He's losing time now behind him. I don't know. I couldn't quite tell if Michael was being bitter when he came in. I don't think so.
Oh, I don't think he was.
I don't think so. No.
Not Formula One was so exciting this morning that we'll make our own drive to survive.
Oh yes.
About 1.5 seconds lost in Sector 1 alone. Another 1.5 seconds lost in... Oh, well, it's the same time now. It's still 1.5 seconds off pace that he lost on the initial outlap here. So I think that pit stop came too soon. It put him sort of back in the traffic he didn't expect to have, I think, because of the incident on the first lap. And,
his pace on the R4s was incredible. So maybe in hindsight, if he'd had some comparative laps from other drivers, he may have decided to stretch that. But he's forced himself into an early stop by the sounds of it. So,
but yeah, it does. He could have been on very low fuel at the start, but that's not possible really, because then he'd need another stop for fuel. So what I think was that he would just try to come in, top up the fuel with what he needed, and then come back out again. However, the position he put himself in was a bit, let's say, compromised by traffic, and let's say Mikael was in his position to fight for it, but I don't think Azar expected anyone to be around him and just clear track, because Gabor is just now starting to get his tires down to temper again. Ayub is actually still lapping quicker than him, so he's catching less than a tenth per lap, but he has been catching that ever since the race start.
And as you said, Gabor's tires like just coming past the heat peak now. What I noticed about Imran Azar is that his tires not coming up to temperature as quickly as I would have expected. So on to R3s, they typically build up fairly quickly within a couple laps, but he's starting his 4th lap from his stop, and they're I don't know, maybe he's gone conservative here. A theme up and down to the events that we cover has been drivers stretching tires a little bit longer than they tend to be willing to go. So maybe he is conserving and just trying to manage from the very beginning of a long stint. But I'm inclined to agree with you on all counts, Dennis, that Imran hasn't played this quite right, and Gabber is in the stronger position now, about a quarter of the way through the race.
Yeah, and coming back to Gabber, I think it could well be that he might have been on slightly too low pressures, because his pace is really, really picking up now. He just set an 1864, which is about three tenths off Imran's fastest lap with an 1832. So he is picking up pace for sure. But yeah, I'm interested to see when he comes in for the R4, because it cannot be too late either, because then you cannot build heat properly. And also you have to remember that the amount of friction that you add with low pressure is quite high. So you also sacrifice a lot of speed if you want to build heat in it. So I think Imran was on the right strategy call, but he should have stayed out for another 10 laps until the pace equaled out.
While we're talking about the leaders and their strategies, Guillermo Morera has just timed out. So he was running around the middle of the order and has now dropped off. So hopefully we'll see him reconnect. It's a shame to go out that way. The man in second position right now, no stranger to that problem. Ayub, blighted so many times by connection issues, running very strongly today, matching pace with Gabber in second. Hopefully we don't see this happen to anyone else, and that Guillermo Morera can rejoin. We have Ayub on the camera now. Don't know that he is. I doubt he'll be catching Gabber on this lap, because Gabber's just set his best lap of the race and the fastest lap of the race, minute 18.31. Ayub El-Anouni comes across the line, minute 18.76. So 4/10 clear. Gabber, as you said, Dennis, picking up the pace. Ayub certainly not going slowly, but I think Gabber starting to get comfortable with the machinery he has. And this is where he is so good, and it's so hard to race him because he's so consistent, he's so clean. He can maximize the car more than anyone else out here.
Yeah, good stuff from our grid at the moment. We've got a few cars who are kind of close to one another. You mentioned El-Anouni there. We've got Rafael Costa. I keep calling him Ricardo. There was a prolific LFS racer long ago called Ricardo Costa, which every time I see that name just pops back in my mind. But it's Rafael Costa who is close with El-Anouni, less than a second actually behind. And we could see a fight emerging here pretty soon as well. So he's bringing the gap down. He's got Patella as well on Rortegal close in the infield. Soini's just there as well. Actually, 3 cars fighting over P6 at the moment. So let's see what happens there.
Oh, yeah, and between the two groups we just talked about, Rafael Willer is right behind Pedro Vitor, looking for 4th position, well in slipstream range, actually. So almost a third of the way through the race, we still have racing up and down the order as Portela, loses the rear of the car. It's so easy to do there. The camber of the road and the amount of torque that you have with this car makes it really easy, even with the traction control, to get a bit eager on the throttle, and the rear of the car just comes around. Rafael Willer right there with Pedro Vitor now coming into the first corner. Rafael Willer taking a healthy bite of the curb on the inside. You can do that if you could balance the car. It helps to hook the car around really well, but easy to light your tires, though well in hand by Rafael Willer, who a bit late on the entry. I think looked like he was surprised by Pedro Vitor going so slowly into the corner. It looked like Rafael Willer checked up middle of the corner and has lost a little bit of time now. But well and truly a fight on our hands as they come into the Parabolica. This great shot from Rafael Willer right down on the white line, while Pedro Vitor dancing on the edge of grip from those rear tires. But I think Rafael Willer should be right underneath his rear wing as they come back onto the oval.
Yeah, he's going to get a good slipstream here if he can get a good exit. Pedro Vitor sliding around. Willer's going to have all the opportunity he needs to at least get past, but it might be a bit early. Vitor might get another bite of the apple as we go across start-finish. He's through incredibly quickly, and I think that's about to happen.
No, I think that's how I would have done it. With that much, he carried so much speed out of the final corner. He was beautifully into the power and had the car lined up nicely. The mistake he's made here is I would have gone early there and let Pedro Vitor kind of have the position and then slipstream around him again. Though I'll have to take this back because Rafael Willer parked himself on the inside of Pedro Vitor around oval turn 1. And just held the position all the way around. Didn't let Pedro Vitor get behind him to slipstream by. So well done by Rafael Willer to recover after losing positions early on, back up into 4th.
Yeah, but two avoidable incidents that he's had have dropped him quite a way off the leaders at the moment, around 20 seconds from those two incidents. So yeah, a little bit of disappointment maybe in the early stages, but it's a long race. We are only 18 laps in, coming up to a third of the way through the Master Race Car BF1 Special, celebrating 15 years of Master Race Car's involvement in Live for Speed. They've hosted many series, including 3 editions of the BF1 League, kind of the top flight league in Live for Speed in many respects, where we end up seeing the best of the best fight it out in probably the most challenging high-speed car in the game.
Yes, indeed. Looking at Gabber now in a commanding first position, slowly gaining time on Ayub. Ayub was closing earlier on, but now that Gabber, I think, has become more comfortable with the condition of his car and his strategy decision, that he is starting to stretch his advantage. Behind them, Dennis has his own analysis of the Sidus drivers. Dennis, would you mind sharing with us?
Yes, so I've just been keeping a close track on Imran Masar's pace and his position on track, and it does look like Gabber has sort of passed him on the pit side of things again. Imran lost a lot of time in back markers, and now he's going through the heat peak, and I think Gabber was good enough to stay close. Another thing to note is that if Imran catches up to this group of cars ahead of him, he's going to have to fight his way through that as well, which is compromising his position even more. So yeah, a bit of a bummer for Imran. I really wanted to see him do something different on the strategy, but it does seem like he's on the losing hand right now.
Well, I have 2 words for you: safety car, never out of the question.
Oh, don't say it.
That could be the stroke of luck that Imran needs. But I agree with you that based on Gabber getting quicker and quicker, we've seen him set a few successive fast laps in a few moments. Now we've got a 3-way battle on our hands with Imran Azar. With Gabber trying to get through a couple battling back markers. Both of them well out of the way. They'll resume their battle after politely jumping away from the champion. Gabber carrying the number 1 on account of his Season 3 BF1 championship. These two can resume what looked like a pretty spicy battle, with Gabber on his way up the road.
Yeah, and already closing in on Michael Malek, who will stay high, I'm sure, and allow Gabber to drop below. There he goes. And Michael will enjoy a free slipstream now, if he can stay close enough. That's Christian in the pit lane as we saw the camera flash past. So Christian making his stop all the way down to the back there with that. But yeah, we've got Rortigal and Soini, the closest cars, in a direct battle with each other now. Still no move. Soini's still not feeling like making the move yet, but he's plenty close enough if he can get a good exit.
And Imran is not far behind this battle, about 6 seconds, 6.5 seconds off Teemu Soini with superior pace. So Imran's going to gradually catch them no matter what. But I think for Imran to have any chance at catching Gabber, obviously he needs to find a little bit more pace. But he will need the cars battling ahead of him to jump out of the way. So ideally for him, these two make a pit stop soon, or though we certainly don't want to see this, Imran, I think, wouldn't be upset if the two of them took themselves off and out of his way, because Imran has an uphill battle with these two fighting position. Absolutely entitled to battle Imran for these positions should he arrive on the scene. And
Yeah,
Soini struggling with the rear of the car. That's not going to help
It's
at
not
all.
going to help. I've got some bad news for you, Travis. I don't think that Imran needs luck of the gods at this point in order to be competitive with Gabor. He's lost 9 seconds to Gabor since he came out of the pits.
Well, and I've just seen that he set the fastest lap of the race by a fair margin, minute 17:65. So Gabor getting faster and faster as he so often does, while the race has more or less stabilized for everyone else. Yeah, hopefully we can get an interview with Imran after the race, and Dennis can put his feet to the coals about his strategy decision. See, we get Imran's point of view and see what he was thinking, get his insight, because so interesting that it looked like it was panning out well early on, and then I'm sure Dennis is right that he had just committed to a strategy that ultimately ended up not being the optimal one when it looked like it was going so well with his early choice.
I have 2 words for you now, Travis.
Oh boy, these are going to be good.
Team orders. No.
Oh!
Wow. Well, we've got team orders happening there, or not happening there. Michael Malik has let through some back markers and also let through the car he was directly battling with. No, yes he has. Oh, no, was he not? They're a whole lap apart, so there we go. My mistake. Celestino is a lap down on Michael Malik. As we lose another car. We lose Portella from the race. Not sure what happened. Just decided to leave. So unfortunate. Down to 13 cars then. I created some false excitement there. Michael Malik back through on Celestino to put him back a lap down.
Well, I mean, it looked impressive regardless.
Yeah, it's good.
So.
Another thing we can kind of ask Imran about after the race is that I think Ayub might actually be sort of, let's say, after pit stops on the same position as Imran is right now. So it's also looking to be a bit more of a battle for second at the moment for him because of the strategy.
Yes, he is around 9 seconds away from Gabor, so he would be right next to Ayub when he comes out of the pits if that stays the same. So yeah.
Yeah, so now I wonder what you think about Rafael Costa, because Rafael Costa not far off Ayub, and a slow pit stop or a couple quick laps, the slightest gain or loss in time could put Rafael Costa right in it, because he's only 2 seconds behind Ayub and pacing him. So, I mean, I guess it's possible Imran could slide in right between them, could be just ahead of Ayub. Could end up behind Rafael Costa if these two both pick up the pace. Very complicated for Imran with the way his race is panning out.
100%, and we also have to take in consideration how many laps it took for Gabor to reach the pace again that Imran was on our force. And I believe it was about 10-15 laps in between that. The laps go by so quickly here, so it's hard to remember which exact lap it was on. But it's gonna be a while until he's out of heat peak, and now he's just battling with Timo Soini.
Yeah, Imran was in the pits on lap 10 and was not really up to pace until several laps after that. And I think around the time that the temperatures were coming in for Imran is when Gabor was well on pace.
Yeah, and that's the thing. He's still not on the pace that he wants to be. So he's just bleeding time at the moment, and really sort of falling down the grid. In reference to that. I think he, in the position that he is actually, apart from Rojugal, that is the position that he's in terms of lap time, rough lap time. So he's the 5th quickest car on track at the moment, I think.
And while we talk about the implications, the consequences of strategy decisions, Gabor, as he so often does, is demoralizing the competition by putting down another fast lap, minute 17.24. He's lapping about 0.4 to half a second quicker than Ayub and Rafael Costa behind him. So it looked like there was a challenge early. Well, we certainly believed there would be a race up front with Sami Lippmanen joining. Sami Lippmanen unable to join and challenge Gabor directly. Imran Azar in command in the first 10 laps of the race. Gabber wisely, as I said this, Gabber's lost the rear of the car getting away from him, a challenging corner, so easy even with traction control to get in the power early on. But the rear of the car gets away and he loses 5 or 6 seconds at least. We'll wait to see where he was. Wait to see how he was about 6 or I think almost 10 seconds ahead of Ayub when he had that half spin. And now John Madigan coming into the picture behind him. We just see Ayub in the background. So Gabber, minute 24 as opposed to minute 17. He's lost 7 seconds. Ayub now 4.5 seconds behind. And Gabber will need to nurse those rear tires. He's a rear end driver. And now he will have to nurse this car around. You can see him so gingerly tiptoeing through the left-hander there. How much does this change the complexion of the race, Dennis?
Well, it depends how quickly the tires cool down again. It did seem that they were out of heat peak, so they should come down fairly quickly again. But a four-way battle for the lead, thank you very much. I would like to see that. It does seem like Gabber is just a bit too far ahead still for you really to do damage, but it does really bring back a bit of action.
Safety car.
And safety car.
deployed.
A
Because of
safety
this.
car. Celestino has been in the barriers very hard. The front of that car badly damaged. He's gone off a ton. And just like that, Gabber onto the apron and into pit lane. Full chat on the brakes right after the cone and into pit lane on the limiter. So Ayub in the pits behind him. Rafael Costa so late on the brakes right under the rear wing of Ayub's car. Gabber stationary now, waiting for the cars behind him to come by. Ayub comes by. Rafael Costa comes by. And also hearing that Michael Malik has a puncture. Cold tires and damaged, badly damaged. So I was about to add another 2-word phrase to our glossary, Dennis, and that was going to be safety car. And just like that, it happened. So Gabber mistake, safety car has completely changed this race, just shy of the halfway mark.
Rafael Costa passed Gabber in the pit lane, so Rafael Costa is the new leader, and Imran Masa is nowhere to be seen. To be honest, he's just entering passing the start-finish line just before, so he's coming out on track in P4 behind Ayub, behind Gabor, behind Rafael. His strategy did not pay off, even with safety car.
No, not in the least. And he'll be just ahead of Raphael Willer, who I did not see if Raphael Willer came into pit lane. Oh, Imran Azar nearly collects the course car coming through the first corner. I don't think he realized that the course car was going to be there. He drove through the normal racing line and had to take evasive action. We'll reset the order. Dennis just called it out. We'll repeat it for everyone's benefit as we settle down here behind the safety car. Rafael Costa leapfrogs Gabber in the pits. Rafael Costa in the lead of the race, ahead of Gabber, who had made a slight mistake, just a lap and change before this safety car came out for Celestino. Gabber second position with Ayub El Hanouni right behind him, followed by Imran Azar, Gabber's teammate in the Sidus machine, newcomer to the Sidus team, having moved over from MRC just in the last week. Rafael Willer behind with Pedro Vitor in 6th position, Rartagal in 7th, Timo Soini in P8, John Madigan in the number 76 machine, the Australian in P9 with Michael Malik, badly damaged and I assume still creeping around to pit lane or maybe having just gotten there, rounding out the top 10. Just saw them go by Julio Martin with the
massive damage.
Front wheels, with massive damage. Not sure what's happened to him. Perhaps he was involved with Celestino or went off on his own somewhere else. But just like that, it's so easy in any long race to lose concentration. You get into a rhythm, and then you get comfortable, and then mistakes set in. And the consequences are so much greater in these cars when they move. They're so much quicker. The margins are so much thinner. And just like that, three or four drivers off the course, and one causes a safety car.
Just a side note here, looking at I just ran through all the pit garages, and the new R4s for everyone is still laying there. So nobody took tires in that last pit stop. At least in the top four.
I'm having a today I learned moment here. You can see the stacks of tires in the garages.
I have specialized.
Aha!
Yes, Dennis was being funny.
I'll have to apologize to our viewers once again for for not picking up on the metaphor. It was very clever by Dennis.
It's good. I enjoyed it.
Ruined it. Yeah, that was very good, Dennis. Thank you.
Immersive. I think
Very
it's the
immersive. I should have been out of breath as well, just to add to it.
You just open the window and hear the noises of the cars going past. Yeah.
I think this is a great show of competence from Dennis, while my knuckles drag the floor while I try to talk about pretend race cars. I think this is on Dennis's debut. Suddenly he becomes the lead commentator because he knows how to immerse the audience.
I feel as though I'm there.
Yeah, don't you?
Well, Ricardo Costa, I've said it again, Rafael Costa leads the way ahead of Gabor. So, well, this is not what Gabor expected.
Sorry, Peter. Dennis, what do you make of this? Imran Azar on the apron.
I'm in shock. I'm in full shock. I do not understand what's going on right now. I don't know why he's pitting. He had the best tires of all because he's just coming out of Heat Peak now. He has the best tires, so I don't exactly understand what the plan for him is to do right now.
Yeah, the only thing it could be would be low fuel. Perhaps there's no way he would have gone for a two-stop strategy. Perhaps he didn't fuel enough, but I don't. You talked about this earlier, Dennis. How when he came in was around the time to top off 100% fuel. After doing a short early stint. So, and then on top of all of this, he's nearly come into that's Magic driving one of the course cars. So Imran went from lead of the race and looking like he had it all figured out to suddenly at the back after a rather puzzling pit stop. I do not know what to make of this at all, Dennis.
I think there's been a bit of a blunder here because normally Imra, also from Formula E League, I know he's usually quite clever. He's normally quite clever when it comes down to strategy, and I'm sorry to say, but this is not one of those moments where I would use clever in the phrase because he has just thrown this race away big time. Yeah, unfortunate, but that's the way the cookie crumbles. But everyone else still has to do a pit stop. If they've all been on R3s for the whole race so far, so I think that they do have to do another pit stop. But yeah, I don't understand exactly what's going on.
Yeah, it's an interesting contrast in oval racing. If you were in the middle of the pack or toward the back like that, you would come in and top off with fuel just so you have so much leeway to run strong to the end of the race. But here, it's so challenging to run behind somebody else. The car is so badly affected by the turbulence, the aerodynamic disturbance of the car ahead. To say nothing of how now he's on cold tires. He would have maintained some temperature in those tires had he stayed out going around under the safety car, but now he's got brand new tires. Presumably he has taken a little bit more fuel, so he has the equipment is in.
He should definitely have enough fuel for the end of the race now. So yeah, and obviously a full racing lap without traffic should bring the tires back up to temperature. So let's see. He's now in position 9 on track, so he should be fighting a few cars coming back up. But like I said earlier, no one else in the top took tires, so we are yet to see a stop from those guys.
Yeah, we're also yet to hear from race control as to whether we're going to get green flag running anytime soon. So some work being done, some lapped cars are going to be allowed through, and hopefully after that, Dennis, we'll get going for the restart. Celestino forgot to repair damage and had to do another lap, so that's why we've had a long safety car period. So yeah, Rafael Costa leading them round for another lap behind the safety car.
Sorry, Pete.
Which should be the final lap.
Imran-
It's all right.
Coming back
Imran in
in.
the pits again.
Okay.
And
what-
Ayub is in the pits.
what is happening with these guys?
So I think Ayub has listened to. Yeah, he's putting on our force now. I can see the pit crew working hard to put the tires on, and fuel as well.
And Imran has leaped him in the pits.
Yeah, but he's done a fuel stop. There's no tires gone on that car.
Does he think he was short on fuel? I don't know how he could
How?
be.
Unless I have messed up massively with my notes here, but safety car in this lap, and they're gonna have a few corners here on full racing speed, which obviously is gonna bring the tires up to temperature. But I do not understand, unless I am very mistaken, that they had too little fuel at this point, or at least Imran had too little fuel at this point. But Ayub doesn't have to do another pit stop, and Imran shouldn't do another pit stop now. I think he's done plenty for tonight.
Yeah,
Well,
enough
this
times
is-
down the pit lane, for sure.
Yeah, puzzling to say the least. I think this is an element had in any of the MRC BF1 races over 3 seasons is this much conversation about strategy so densely packed into a few minutes. Imran is
Travis suffering there a little bit with his connection again as Rafael Costa kind of gears up for a restart. Safety car peeling into the pit lane.
And he's dropped the hammer.
Yeah, he's gone already. So he's gone for it early. Gabor is there. And we are green flag racing.
I'd say Willa is also really close, but doesn't really seem like they're in the slipstream. Oh, here you go.
Gabor going for the inside into turn 1, and he's got the move on Rafael. And, well, he wasn't held up too long in this race. He managed to, in the end, judge that to perfection. He was close enough at the restart to get the slipstream. So Costa couldn't get the better of him there. Willa's also very close as well. We've got El Hanouni and Azar in a battle as well, getting past I guess, an immediate problem there for somebody. But yes, Azar and El Hanouni battling together. Bizarre strategy from Azar, especially in this one, boys.
And they were also held up by some backmarkers trying to let them pass, but obviously you cannot pass before the start-finish line on the yellow flag, so they had to hold back, and that lost them around, I would say, around 6-7 seconds to the pack. Thankfully for them, everyone in the pack that did not pit is on absolutely stone-cold tires, so they're all struggling with tires, but at the moment, they have lost a lot of track position, and they're not helping themselves by battling. It looks great on TV, but for themselves, I would suggest them either work together or try to get away.
Yeah, we're over halfway, and the safety car came pretty much at exactly the halfway point. But in a few minutes, we
All
are going to
drivers
be.
stand by for VSC.
Oh, we have a VSC. I wonder who's caused this one. It looks like Christian is off. He's in the gravel, and instead of calling a full-fat
VSC
safety car,
deployed,
we have a VSC, and we've got
deployed.
contact. Willa and Costa have come together. There's been contact between Willa and Costa, and now Vitor is in the middle of these two. So somehow those two have come together. So drama elsewhere on the track during the VSC period. We've got a rescue car bolting its way to this scene, and hopefully Christian can rejoin this race.
Yeah, and it's going to be a relatively short VSC, so it's not going to help Gabor or anyone who hasn't pitted yet, which actually benefits Ayub and Imran a lot. I was not afraid, but I was thinking that if their car position was a bit different, they could have had a free pit stop doing all this. But it doesn't seem like they're going to be able to get that if they get the car out in time, and it does seem like they are doing just that.
Well, safety car speed for the VSC as all the cars trundle their way around. You can see the pit lane speed limiter light on some of the cars as they elect to use that instead. Gabor not doing, but it does look completely pedestrian, doesn't it, as they're making their way around. And yeah, under VSC conditions, Christian is being assisted, has been assisted out of the gravel. and is making his way down. So expect a restart pretty soon as the rescue car gets back into position.
Or
The
driving standby to
VSC is ending.
restart.
Voice there of Jonathan Prevost.
Restart in 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Green flag. Green flag.
We have a green flag, and Christian makes his way in. Well, it looks like he was trying to make his way into the pit lane there, but just not sure where the track went. Maybe as Gabor lights up, hit the engine, and has an enormous gap over Costa. As Willer is trying to get back past Vitor here now for P3. Will Vitor have a run back at him, I wonder?
Hi, gentlemen. I have returned. Owing to my audio difficulties, I have sprinted all the way down from the commentary box to pit lane to inquire personally, and the crew and the Sidus team have no idea.
They don't know what's going on.
What Imran Azar was doing.
Okay, we'll have to send Dennis back there in a minute once they work out what's going on. Amid all of the fuss of safety cars, we weren't able to announce the driver of the day poll, which is now live at simbroadcasts.tv/vote, so you can go there, cast a vote, and incrementally, towards the end of the race, we will update you on the status of that. So you've seen plenty of action from all the drivers. It's time to go and pick your driver of the day. So we want lots of votes on the poll, please. Thank you very much. Yeah, gents, it's going to be interesting to see who the audience vote for on this occasion.
Who's your driver of the day?
I don't know yet. I have to watch the rest of the race. I'm not going to vote until close to the end. Let's see.
Yeah, I've been cursed in the past with early calls that didn't pan out. So I have learned my lesson. I will hold my vote until somewhat later.
Race control message. Many incidents under investigation by the stewards. There was a lot of faff going on during those safety car periods, and yeah, they're going to be busy. But a comedic message from race control there. I enjoy that.
A lot of drivers are struggling with getting temperature back into the tires. Imran Massar has, let's say, dumped Ayub a little bit behind. So he's now in clear air, trying to make amends. But regardless of his crazy strategies, his track position is actually now great, because I think that he's able to lap quicker than what Gabor can do on his tires, and Gabor will have to pit soon for R4s, and at the moment he is close enough to clear him if they do pit stops.
Very interesting, and not what we expected just 10 minutes ago. He's setting some respectable lap times. His best of the race only 18.3, so pretty far off the ultimate time that Gabber said. Gabber, I believe, did a 17.2 at some point earlier on, but pretty consistent right now. Though he's about to catch Michael Malik, who is fighting with someone ahead of him. So, like we said earlier, he needs to get through back markers quickly and set off a pace if he wants any chance at a podium finish, let alone a win. Michael Malik lets him through, and now he's off in pursuit of Roertegal. That's Dwight Roertegal in the 37, so this will be a battle for position. He should have the benefit of the slipstream here, so Imran Azar well on his way. Dennis, how close would you say it is? Because we know Gabber struggled a little bit with those R3s. R4s, obviously, Imran Azar made them work very well. We don't know yet what Gabber will be able to do with them. Is it really close, or is it just maybe close?
At the moment, it's not close at all. If Gabber are to pit and put the fuel, which is going to be quite a lengthy pit stop, it's going to be Imra who's going to come out in front by quite a margin, like 15 seconds probably.
Well, he should be mighty pleased with that. Still utterly perplexed by his series of pit stops. Hopefully we can learn more at the end of the race. Oh, Roertegal struggling with the rear of the car. A very weird place to lose control of the car. Manages to gather it up. I wonder if he touched the grass and it just wasn't obvious from a bit of in-game lag. But like that, Imran Azar through with a healthy margin very quickly and off quickly to catch Teemu Soini in P5. So Imran Azar, an amazing recovery after it looked like strategy had undone his race. Now well and truly in it.
Absolutely. Gabor is definitely setting some quick lap times. I think he knows exactly what's going on. So he is definitely trying to bring that gap up. But it does seem like a really tall order. Obviously, there is more than 20 laps to go, so there is still plenty of time for Gabor to manage this gap. But it is, again, around 12 seconds that he has to gain in order for Imram not to come out in front, if not more.
Yeah, the odds have gone from being stacked well in his favour to being stacked well against him, even though Imran has been through the pits multiple more times. Yeah, an unusual strategy in the end then for Gabor. Maybe he's banking on another safety car. Who knows? We've got Madigan in the pit lane now.
Now that he's out in clean air and on a safe part of the circuit, we can play a bit of a trick on him. Gabber, if you believe you can win this race, wave to us.
How's he going to wave? Oh,
We'll wait for stream delay, and he'll weave on the circuit, and it'll be great.
He's not going to be weaving around today. He's got a race to win, so wishful thinking there, Travis, as he comes up to the back of Madigan at a terrible spot, and that's going to cost him even more time.
Yeah, and that's not John Madigan's fault either. Just a really unfortunate place to get caught out. John Madigan absolutely entitled to come out of the pits at racing speed, and I suppose he could have lifted and yielded slightly, but he needs to get out and get on with his race. So just an awful spot for Gabber to catch him.
Well, that was certainly the experience of Gabor there showing itself. Madigan didn't really have much to do, but a terrible place to meet somebody leaving the pit lane when you're doing full speed. But yeah, the gap between Costa and Gabor is now 6.5 seconds, and Azar is still losing a bit of time. So Gabor, this is not over for him.
So looking back to Gabber catching John Madigan there in the first corner. It's interesting how real life racing parallels sim racing sometimes. Like certainly in strategy and in racecraft, they're nearly the same in every respect. And I'm curious, since we have the privilege of Dennis being in the box, like what would your take be on John Madigan coming out of the pits there? I mean, obviously, I quickly concluded that John Madigan is entitled to that space, but then I consider that he's also a back marker. So, I mean, how would you feel there, Dennis?
The thing is, with the pit lane on this track, you cannot really get out the way because you are on the left-hand side of the track, and the corner is a left-hander, so he can't really just jump out of the way because that would be a dangerous move to sort of skip to the outside of the track to let Gabber through. It's not really, let's say, easy to anticipate that kind of driving. So I think John Madigan did exactly what he should have done. Just stick to your line, let the faster car work out where he's going to go.
Fair enough. Michael Malik on screen now in the top 10. That car stricken a few minutes ago, and he's managed to get it in and get it repaired. Michael Malik told us at the top of the broadcast that he wanted to get around without too much drama and run a good race. Unfortunately, a little bit of drama for him in the middle, but now appears to be going well, though he is battling for that position. Oh, no, my mistake. No, he is not. He's one lap back in 10th position, and there's a back marker behind him. Rafael Willer, impressive show from him, only 8 seconds off the lead and about 6 seconds up the road from Pedro Vitor. So well and truly on his own, no challenge ahead or behind, but impressive performance from him to put the car on P2 and now running in 3rd position after an early setback.
Yeah, one of the Road Appraiser team members there, Willer. Yeah, doing a good job. Obviously, an up and down race, but not over by any means. Only 40 laps in, and just under a third remaining in tonight's action. Thanks very much for tuning in to Sim Broadcasts on this special occasion as we celebrate 15 years of Master Race Cars involvement in Live for Speed in one of the only ways that MRC knows how, a big BF1 race in Live for Speed. It's currently Gabor leading, yet to stop ahead of Rafael Costa driving the Fusion Racing livery there. Beautiful stuff. And then Willer qualified P2, but a few incidents have dropped him back a bit in this race. We should probably keep an eye on the stops, actually, because you'll see that Imran Azar, although he's made 3 stops, is within striking distance of the top spot here. Gabor has made a stop, but yeah, we're not sure if he's going to need to stop again.
He is going to have to stop again because he did not change tires.
There we are. Yes.
Yeah, he still has to take the R4s, and I'm looking at the lap chart, and even though they're on, at this point, they're on fairly similar equipment. I think Gabber's tires are a lot more worn than Imran's. Gabber is still setting consistently faster laps every lap. He's about a second a lap faster than Imran on every single lap. So, though you said earlier, Dennis, that he's under threat here because Imran can go to the end of the race. Gabber has responded by stretching that gap. So we need to go look at the figures, do a bit of number crunching in the background, and see just how much of that gap Gabber has built and whether Imran is still in contention or not. Gabber's tires getting rather low now.
They are getting very low. He's gonna have to pit soon. Also, just in terms of the amount of time that he has to spend refueling. I sort of set a figure before the race. I can be mistaken, but the way it's panning out right now, it does look like I was right to begin with, that they do need around 25% of fuel extra for the stop. So I think Imran made a mistake in terms of the first pit stop, and I don't exactly know why he pitted the second or the third time after that. But yeah, it's gonna not be a super long pit stop for Gabor, but it does seem like Imran is still in the window. And we also have to remember that Gabor has to bring those R4s up to temperature and keep them there for the end of the race.
And I think because we're so accustomed to seeing punctures in GT2 Challenge, I think we've all gotten pretty good at judging how much tread a tire has left on it. And I think I agree with you that I think Gabber's probably got less than 10 laps left, maybe. In the background, Celestino has disconnected. So Celestino, who was responsible for the safety car drama earlier, now out of the race. So one more drops, 12 cars remaining in the race, 8 of them on the lead lap. Ayub El-Anouni bringing up the rear of the cars who are still on the same lap as Gabber at the front. Anyway, Gabber, yes, I believe, he should be in pretty soon. What he absolutely cannot risk is a puncture, because in these cars, it is so difficult to get them around without all 4 tires in full working condition. He was certainly able to make it work a couple weeks ago in GT2 Challenge when he had 3 simultaneous punctures, but an entirely different beast in this car.
Yeah, the amount of speed that the speed difference between this and the GT2 is quite substantial. So if you have to travel around at let's say 100 kilometers an hour, is a big contrast to 300 kilometers an hour, which this car normally operates at. So it's a very tall order once you get a flat, but I expect him to pit within the next 5 to 7 laps.
He will go around one more time, down close to the apron and off the oval turn 3 banking once again and through the kink under the gantry. Gabber starts the 45th lap of asking. My mistake, sorry, the 44th lap of asking. Here we are on board with him on the brakes now into the first corner. No less conservative through these corners now than he was in qualifying or early on in the race. Perhaps a smaller bite of the right hand curbing before diving into that slow 90-degree left-hander. Easy to upset the car and damage the suspension, which does affect the performance of the car, though certainly not as much here as it is at other circuits. Fern Bay, obviously notoriously brutal on the suspension. Using the rear of the car to get around the corner. Gabber he's so it is interesting watching him, how he makes these tiny little corrections, these little movements with the steering wheel, keeping his hands as close to level as possible. Obviously, the quickest way around with a race car is to give it the least input you possibly can, but he demonstrates it so well.
100%. He is one of the, let's say, the BF1 experts, and he's a very, very smooth driver. So he's, it's like they're made for each other, these two.
Peter, you've been awfully quiet. Do you have a driver of the day yet?
Oh my! I mean, I don't I never like calling it too early, and the reason I've been quiet is because I'm just having fun with the cameras that Chris provided me with here today. So, yeah, no, it's been fun listening to you two go at it, to be honest. But yeah, in terms of a driver of the day, it's very difficult to call at the moment. Is Imran Azar lucky, or is he a genius?
Yeah,
maybe.
but that's the thing that's been spinning around in my mind, because if you do a dumb strategy that works out, it ain't a dumb strategy. You know, it's a genius feat. So
Exactly.
he's definitely up there for my picks, just because we've seen him so many times rolling past very slowly through the commentary box here, where we're sitting just on top of the finish line. But yeah, we've seen his helmet a couple of times, and that's obviously cool. The strategy, yeah, I think it's not genius. I think it's luck playing its hand, but sometimes you got to be lucky to win races.
Yeah, and a bit of an unlucky one here for car 97, which is Martins, who's going to be getting a stop-go penalty for causing a collision with Lewis Hamilton. Oh, sorry, no, that's the number 44 that's no longer with us in the server, as far as I can tell. No, the number 44 has gone.
Yeah, that was on lap 44, car 97.
Oh, sorry,
there you go.
My mistake. Yeah.
L for Lewis, Lewis 44.
L for Lewis, there you go. Not car 44.
Yeah, Imran Azar now right up behind Pedro Vitor. Imran Azar still giving up about a second a lap to Gabber, though this will certainly help his chances. He's through Pedro Vitor very handily. Now about 27 seconds off the lead, Dennis. The gap is getting perilously close to the time it takes to get in and out of pit lane.
It is going to be very close. Now we have a battle for the win. I think Gabber smells blood, and so does Imran. So Imran has to push his absolute hardest. And this is sort of this is a cool aspect of racing, because you have two people who are indirectly fighting directly on track. They cannot misstep. They cannot make mistakes. They both know that that's the race when gone. I don't see anyone in direct contention for a win right now, apart from these two, unless something big happens. But it's gonna be quite an interesting finish, I'd say.
Could not agree more. Pedro Vitor off hardly in pursuit of Imran Azar. Imran Azar dispatched him very quickly and has now quickly turned that into a 1.5 or 2 second gap. So Imran Azar not slacking his pace at all. This lap, this time by minute 18.45. So among the better of his laps, his best lap of the race, 18.32. So Imran Azar approaching his earlier quickest pace.
Which was set on R4s, which is quite interesting still. I still don't understand the strategy, but it seems like it's working in this direction due to the other consequences on track.
Yeah, this is a pretty intense battle between Ayub and Rortegal. And as Ayub goes through there, up into P7, and for the Born to Race driver, another place gained, but yeah, not the race he would have wanted. I think he would have been wanting to be battling higher up at this stage, but who knows? In the end, the strategy calls from some of the drivers are questionable at best. So maybe Abe's on one as well.
I will propose that lap that was an outlier from Imran Azar. It was 0.6 quicker than his previous lap, and he'd been running very consistently. I think he gained a lot of time in the slipstream, dispatching Pedro Vitor. He's still about a second off Gabber's pace. Gabber running in high. He's getting down into the mid 17s. So this gap slightly stretching. Imran Azar across the line now is going to be just under 29 seconds. So in it to win it, but it's getting awfully close. I think now, Dennis, does Gabber go as long as he possibly can to make the fuel stop as short as possible, or does he get in with some time to put temperature in the R4s to kind of optimize their peak?
It's tough to say. Obviously, he's going to have to keep some heat in these R3s because they're reaching sort of a critical moment now. I do believe that I said 5 to 7 laps 4 laps ago. So I honestly, there's a bit of a risk here, right? So if he keeps going on these R3s, he might risk a right rear puncture because that's getting awfully close now. If he stays out for long, he's going to be able to pull out these lap times like no tomorrow. Our fours are going to be a bit slower, especially at this rate. Oh, at this part of the race with low fuel and all of that. But the longer time he can pull off these lap times, he's sort of putting himself in a better position. Potentially not, let's say, if he comes out in front of Imran Masar, that's obviously the best outcome for him. But it's still going to be very close. And it's hard to call, to be honest.
Well, Ronnie Kronbusch has been watching hard on Gabor's Twitch and can tell you he did have around 12 laps of fuel left when you made your call, Dennis. So I know it's
getting close.
Yeah, but the only logical thing to do in this race would have been starting on full tank of fuel and then going as long as you could and have a short pit stop at the end, which was the polar opposite to what Imra did. So I think the fuel is just a number at the moment. Of course, I do not think that they're able to go a full tank of fuel on these tires. I do think that they run out of tire before they run out of fuel on R3s.
For sure. I agree. I think he's getting close. Travis.
New interesting factor for the drivers behind Gabber. Rafael Costa has received a drive-through penalty for causing a collision on lap 41 at the start-finish line. That, I believe, was on the VSC restart, or may have been the safety car restart. But either way, drive-through penalty for car 46. That is Rafael Costa in P2, so he will drop behind Rafael Wheeler, Imran Azar, Pedro Vitor, and likely Timu Soini as well. And I believe he also has yet to make his final pit stop. So what was looking like it could be a podium finish for Rafael Costa has now quickly vaporized. He will tumble down the order when he comes in to serve this penalty.
He's going to be out well behind Ayub, I believe. So he's going to be out of top 6, top 7.
Yeah, so that unfortunately isn't a Galaxy Brain strategy call. That's just a result of an incident, unfortunately, for Costa. So yeah, puts a bit of dampness on his day, but no doubt he'll continue on and fight for as good a position as he can manage. As we're about to tick over onto 10 laps to go, for rather 9 laps to go now for Gabor.
Yeah, inside 10 laps, Gabber in the lead, Rafael Costa, who will fall off second and yield it to Rafael Wheeler, Imran Azar, Pedro Vitor, the top 5. Gabber has just gone by the start-finish line, and then by definition by the pit entry once more. And yellow flag in front of Gabber. That is Michael Malik has had a lazy spin out of the way. Didn't slow down Gabber at all, as far as I could tell. Rafael Costa in now, appears to be serving his drive-through penalty. He is. The condition of these tires is so close now, Dennis. Right rear. Yeah, Gabber's right rear looking super sketchy.
Well, let's keep an eye on him because we've seen things go wrong and we've seen things go bang at times that we didn't think that it was going to happen. But yeah, his tyres are getting pretty sketched and he's not going into pit lane. He's going to push it another lap.
Yeah, and there's what's so sketchy about this is because it's an oval track with a road course in the middle of it. Like you turn left so much, there's so much load, especially it's deceptive through the banking here, but there's a lot of loading on that tire. And then the first corner and then the the traction out of the final corners, before the final chicane, it puts so much load right here, puts so much load on that tire that it can let go just without any warning. It can look like that you have enough left to get through one more lap and then bang, it's gone. It's now at a point for Gabber that I feel like he's really testing his luck. But he's through, at least for that corner of the car, he's through the most challenging of the part of the circuit so far, apart from the final corners, though he can get into the power very delicately in this, the double apex coming up.
Let's flip this on its head. He has to push these tyres as far as they can go because Imran Azar
He does.
is. I mean, Imran's lost time, don't get me wrong, but he can still win this. So Gabor has to push these tyres as far as he can. Yeah.
Oh, he has just set a blistering Sector 2 time.
Unbelievable
Minute
pace.
51.75, and he goes by again. This is...
Oh, okay.
He knows better than anyone else. He last weekend, or 2 weekends ago, he popped the tires on his GT2 FZR, so he has recent experience. I think we have to trust that he knows what he's doing. 17.27, just off his best lap of the race by 300ths. Yeah, Gabber stretching as long as he can before he makes his final stop. That gap now, 33 seconds.
Yeah, I mean, that's crazy. Realistically, he only needs a couple more laps, and he's got the gap, and he can pit safely. But can he make it that far? That's the thing. I don't think he should push another lap. Honestly, it's too risky. We want to keep him in the race. So yeah.
He's reaching he's out of my window. So
he's been defenestrated, and he needs to come in the pit lane, I think.
And now he has a back marker that he has 2 back markers that may coax him in here.
So you have one here, letting him go. The next one might be able to help him with slipstream, which is another thing he can take into consideration for continuing an extra lap. But that's not going to happen. And he's staying out.
And off he goes.
Yeah, he's staying out again. So Gabor knows something we do not, and is pushing the limits of his tyres to beyond the limit, we think here. And let's look at the gap to Azar as he goes across start-finish. Yeah, it's gone up again. It's absolutely flying up. I think this is going to be a battle on track for the line, regardless of what happens here, unless Gabor's tyres go bang in the next lap.
Yeah, I think our final judgment of Gabber here in this race will be that he is more courage than Dennis, or somewhat less brain, because the margin is so thin here that it could go wrong very quickly. But if he pulls out this gap and gets out in the lead, he looks like a hero.
Or we are getting slightly mistaken for the tire thickness, because you have to remember that the BF1 has very big and chunky tires, so it might be that it does look thin. It is thicker than we think it is. So let's hope that he is smarter and more courageous than I am.
A big slide like that won't help. He was 2/10 quicker than his earlier best Sector 2 time, and that big slide won't help, but still mighty quick.
He's staying out for another lap as we watch Costa and Vitor go at it. Our driver of the day poll is going to be open until the end of the race, so you've got 6 laps, or rather now 5 laps, as Gabor comes across the line to vote in that. But yeah, getting close up and down the field. Gabor has committed to another lap, and yeah, he's pushing his luck well and truly now. Let's see what happens here.
His gap has stabilized at 36 seconds to Imran Azar, so Imran's picked up the pace a little bit. That mistake that Gabber made on the previous lap was not that costly. As we look at Rafael Costa lead on the brakes, looking to the inside, Pedro Vitor leaving him plenty of room. The wide entry through the wide line through the first of the apexes there to line up the exit. A very nice exit. He got a great launch ahead of Rafael Costa there, so Rafael Costa will likely not be challenging down to the first corner. Yeah, plenty of gap there. Pedro Vitor retains 4th position over Rafael Costa, who is very motivated after a mistake landed him a drive-through penalty a few minutes ago. Gabber coming through the final corners now as we watch this battle. We wait to see if he yields, chooses to come into pit lane, or if he goes out for yet one more lap. Yeah, he's in.
Oh, he's in.
Now it gets very interesting, but I do think he has enough room.
Wow, this is fascinating. Let's not leave the viewers guessing. Let's watch Imran. Can he do the deed? Gabor in his pit box now, We're going to bring up his picture at the bottom right-hand side of the screen, and you'll see what happens. We've got Imran on the picture and Gabor in pit lane.
And he's rolling.
And he's moving. And Imran's not even out of the final corner. So let's see. It's a very long pit lane, and the BF1 is extremely fast. Gabor goes past the sim bin. He's going to be turning his pit lane speed limiter off any minute now. He should have this well and truly wrapped up. Oh, this is so close. Imran is coming across start-finish now, but it's a big gap, yeah. I think he's done enough.
And he's cold
Imran's
enough. He's on cold R4s. We have to remember he's on cold R4, so it's actually a lot closer than we think. Around 6 seconds, I would say.
Yeah, Gabor's going through turn 3 now, and you can see them just briefly on the same camera shot. So it's close, but Gabor has done just enough, pushed just enough to come out in the lead. But Azar, he's got the momentum. He's happy, comfortable with his setup. Gabor has to get used to a completely new set of tires.
3.5 seconds gap.
Crazy.
Behind these guys, Rafael Costa and Rafael Willer stopped for their final pit stops. Pedro Vitor just ahead of Rafael Costa now. Rafael Willer came into the pits in second position behind Gabber. Imran Azar jumped him to take second place. All of the stops finished now for the leaders of the race. And now we turn back to Imran Azar chasing Gabber, who has only a 3-second lead. And crucially, as Dennis has reminded us, on very cold R4 tires. So Imran Azar can smell blood. Gabber will struggle to get those tires up to temperature. Will need all of his talent and all of his guile to keep Imran Azar behind him. With just 3 laps remaining, Imran Azar can see Gabber going through the start-finish line. Though a weak lap from Imran Azar, only 1:19. He needs to go much quicker than that if he hopes to catch Gabber.
He actually lost about 2 tenths on that lap as Gabber came out. So we, I don't want to say we've seen the end of it, but it's looking like the air from Imran's balloon has gone out. He has been on a very, very long stint on these tires, and I think it's difficult for him to keep the pace up right now.
And Gabber's looking pretty handy on these R4s. He has one back marker to negotiate. That is, I think that was Christie jumping out of the way. It was a red car. Christian jumping out of the way. Yep. Yeah, Gabber on his way through the surfaces of those tires, coming up to working temperature. 52.5 on his second racing lap on these tires through the second sector. I think he is probably safe. Imran Azar has dropped back. Imran Azar lost 1.5 seconds in the last lap. So, looking, yeah, Imran Azar's balloon's looking rather deflated, as Dennis said a moment ago. With 2 laps remaining, I think Gabber has this fully in hand.
Yep, Imran down to a 20.73 versus a Gabber doing 18.41. I do not see a let's say an attack coming from Imran. I think Gabber has played this to his hand, and Imran very much played against himself today.
Yeah, but Imran's lap times are way slower than they should be. Christian's spun it coming out of turn 3, recovering now, but I think Imran might be saving fuel.
Possibly.
But I don't see how. He's done 3 pit stops. He's had, let's say, the first one. Okay, you can mess that one up.
He's 3 seconds off the pace at the moment. 2.5 seconds off. It doesn't make sense.
He is lifting and coasting, I can tell.
Yeah, I agree with Dennis. I don't see how he could have made this mistake, but he is lifting a lot. He's coasting into every corner.
A comedy of errors from Azar. Unfortunately, we were denied that grandstand finish in the end, but you can't take anything away from Gabor, who's done absolutely everything right. Got unlucky almost with that safety car, and Imran scored an own goal. Maybe I'm being too harsh, but he's going on to the final lap, and he's driven a flawless race so far.
And Imran Azar coming across the line now. 8 seconds back. It'll be more than 8 seconds when the timing updates. So Imran giving up 3 seconds per lap in the final laps of the race as Gabber negotiates one more back marker into the infield now, taking his sweet time. There we go, very patiently waiting for the back marker to jump out of the way. And off he goes through these very high-speed Kinks, John Madigan, a full race distance from John Madigan. So well done to him, the Australian driver, joining from an inconvenient time zone to participate in this, the 15th anniversary BF1 race for the MRC team.
Late moves going on between Rafael Costa and Vitor. Vitor's tyres are absolutely bushed as Gabor is coming up to the final sector. Travis, why don't you take us to the line?
Gabber out of the final corner now, the final real corner anyway, as he negotiates this oval turn 3. Down to the apron, R4s in perfect working condition, more than enough fuel to get him across the line. A weave and a shake from Gabber as he comes under the gantry, and Gabber wins in BF1 once again. We could not have predicted it, but we might have guessed it. Gabber once again showing his dominance in the BF1 car. New teammate Imran Azar moved from MRC over to Sidus in the last week, comes through in P2. Looked like he had pulled a strategy blinder, and then a strategy blender, and then a blinder, and then another blender. Unfortunately, not meant to be for Imran Azar today, but well done to him to finish in second place. Rafael Willer comes across the line for a podium finish. Brilliant race from him to finish P3. Ayub El-Nouni crosses the line in fourth, and we wait for either Pedro Vitor or Rafael Costa to come across the line in fifth position. That battle was going when we looked at them on cameras a few minutes ago. That is Rafael Costa well ahead of Pedro Vitor there. Rafael Costa finishes in P5, and the rest of the field will filter in behind as the back markers cross the line to take the checkered flag. Once again, Gabber, the winner today. Dominant performance. One small mistake looked like it could be the difference between victory and second position after safety car and virtual safety car changed the middle of the race somewhat. But Gabber still in full control, total command, wins once again.
Yeah, and his one error, I don't want to. I'm interested to hear from him after the race, but it happened the second I brought up his onboard camera. The second I did it, he had a spin, so maybe a hardware glitch. But anyway, he's pulling up to the start finish line there, top step of our imaginary podium in the MRC BF1 special. Yeah, he shines once again. You cannot say it fairer than that. There were many drivers who were essentially gifted an opportunity to take it away from him, and they all dropped the ball.
They did. I do want to point out, though, that these BF1 races, we typically see Gabber just completely run away with it, and occasionally he makes a mistake that puts other drivers back in the race. You can see the MRC in paint ahead of the start-finish line there. I like that. I hadn't noticed that detail when the cars were flashing by earlier. But a great performance by, in particular, Imran Azar and Rafael Willer. All of these drivers, a great performance to stay even close to Gabber, to be in contention near the end of the race. And Imran Azar, there's our answer, Dennis. Imran Azar is being pushed back around to the start-finish line because he's out of fuel.
Yep.
That says it all. Just you don't need to say anything now, Dennis. Just the sigh says it all. I agree. I think he absolutely had a massive opportunity here today, and how many times do you need to go down the pit lane to calculate your fuel? Well.
Is Zesty a mouse driver?
Well, Gabor's a mouse driver, and he managed it. But yeah.
Yeah.
No, Gabber shows wheel for Gabber.
Oh no, okay,
but...
maybe he uses pedals, doesn't he? But he uses mouse
yes,
to steer.
yes.
Oh, this is awkward. I think Imran may have to just abort this and get to the pit lane if he wants to appear on our little podium. But yeah,
so
Gabor's there on his own at the moment. I think we're waiting for somebody else, waiting for Willer.
Yeah, the excuse I would have pleaded on his behalf is that if he's a mouse driver, you only get on-off throttle. You can't roll in and out of it, and that costs more fuel. But not the case for Imran. We'll have to wait and see if he's willing to chat with us in the interview room. Then that's great. If not, we'll catch up with him in chat sometime after the race. Now that it's done, gentlemen, and we don't have to worry about the egg on our faces from poor predictions. I think we can make our own driver of the day pronouncements. And for me, 100% Gabber.
Yeah, me too. I mean, I did actually cast my vote just before time was called. We can actually show those results as well before we go through the actual results of today's race. But yeah, the final poll results tell a bit of a story. Julio Martins is the popular vote today, and unfortunately he didn't finish. So Gabor takes P2 in our little driver of the day poll. But yeah, there is only one winner of the day, and that is going to Gabor today. A very well deserved victory ahead of Imran Azar by 9 seconds in the end. Fuel saving to the end of the race. Willer qualified in P2, finishes P3 on this occasion, 30 seconds back, with Ayoub El Hanouni taking P4 just off the podium in the end by only 2 seconds. It was quite close at the end between those two. Rafael Costa, Pedro Vitor, Timu Soini, Rosegal, Michael Malik, and Madigan there, your top 10 finishers, with Christian, the final finisher, in P11. DNFs for our driver of the day, Julio Martins, in P12, with Celestino, Portela, Moreira, and Pascual not finishing. Our 16 runners today in the MRC BF1 special. We have a podium. We've got Willer and we've got Gabor on the podium, facing the wrong way now. But
I was kind of hoping Imran would telepit and then drive out there. But this is, I think this is emblematic of his race, perhaps somewhat more appropriate.
He's being pushed by the rescue cars now. It's quite a scene.
Yeah, I'm completely baffled by how he's managed to run out of fuel. I mean, I think it has to be a simple mistake of just not setting the pit strategy correctly in the black boxes. But I don't. Yeah, unfortunate.
He's going to try and turn around here as well.
pretty impossible to mess it up 3 times. I'm very sorry to say. I think he should have waited on the first stint because he had so much more pace than Gabor. He had the race in his hands. He could have pulled out a 15-second gap, 16-second gap easily with the pace he had, and he set the fastest lap of the race for a while on his in lap, or the lap before his in lap. So I don't see the logic. So it was I'm still very confused by the strategy, and I must say this one was thrown out of the way.
Joining us in the commentary box now, it's 4th place finisher Ayoub El Hanouni. Ayoub, a good result, but tell us about your race. It was very close in the end between you and Willer.
Yeah, it was really close, and I really enjoyed this car a lot. It's very fast flowing, especially with this circuit. And for my race, it was a good opening race. My pace was really good, and I keep it out of the trouble. And things start to change at the safety car, and I just kind of bottle it there, and somehow end up finish 4th with the Stone Cold R-Force. But yeah, I really enjoyed it, and happy birthday, MRC.
So a hot topic of conversation for us in the box has been Imran Azar's strategy. When you made your pit stop, he was in pit lane with you after he had already made another stop. Did that surprise you? Did you have any idea what was happening there? I mean, at that point, you would have been racing him.
Yeah, I know what's going on there. He was just getting the fresh tires as possible. It's very beneficial, and I see his strategy. He starts with the hardest compound tire, and I kind of understand what he did under safety car. He had like nothing to lose to just pit in for fresh softer tire. And to be honest, I should have followed him like 1 lap earlier. And I thought the safety car would be long as the wave around was there, but it wasn't. And I was going to R2, but thankfully I didn't. That would be really worse for me.
Well, thanks a lot, Ayoub. You're right. Happy birthday to MRC, and what an event that they've put together for it. Thanks a lot for showing up, and a P4, not bad, and it's good to hear you enjoyed it. So we'll see you at the next one.
Thank you.
Are you racing tomorrow?
Goodbye. Yeah, of course. Yeah.
Brilliant. Well, we'll see you in GT2
see you
Challenge
tomorrow then.
Epic stuff. Thanks as always, Ayoub. Cheers.
Thank you. Bye.
Rafael Costa comes to join us for an interview as well. Rafael, that was a difficult race on your end there, but P5 in the end, just behind Abe, just ahead of Pedro Vitor. You were battling with Pedro very, very tightly at the end, and you just managed to get him.
Yeah, today's race wasn't. I mean, it could have been much more. I was actually going for a P3 finish, but trying to get a tiny bit of advantage over Wheeler. I tried to get draft from my other teammate, Matt, but the car got a bit of draft. It understeered, and I ended up ramming him. So I got a penalty for that. Pretty much my fault, nothing to say about that. Other than that, the race was pretty much good for my side, only a few issues here and there. But yeah, the battle with Pedro was also very nice. It was very hard. I was trying my best to not hit him again and try to overtake him before the finish, so I could get the P5. And it just worked on the last lap, and I'm pretty happy with that actually.
Well, thank you very much for joining us for a quick chat there, Rafael. I hope you enjoyed it, and we'll see you again in the next one. So thank you very much.
See you on the next one.
Cheers. I did ask Gabor if he wanted an interview, but apparently he doesn't have a microphone. So we'll grab some more chat from some of our race control. Happy D joins us again in the commentary box. You were here with us at the beginning. How did you think that went?
It was really good. And then during the safety car, it was a little. But overall, it was a lot of racing all over, no matter where you looked, and yeah.
Yeah, I see you put down a few PBs. Would you say you were pushing quite hard to stay in front of the Formula 1 cars?
Not that hard, but I had put on a good set. It was quite fun driving in front. Then I was told to get off track, and I'm like, all right, let me hurry up. It was fun.
I mildly panicked when Dennis asked that question, and then realised that you were driving the safety car. For those that didn't realise, me being one of them apparently. So yeah. Yeah, you got some time to drive the FZ5 V8 safety car today. So with that light bar, cool stuff.
Yeah, so yeah, when I first came out there, I had the green light, and I was like, "Whoops!" I had to turn that off and just go regular. But yeah,
Brilliant
now that
stuff.
I'm here, there's something I want to mention. So there is a $10 draw, which I'm about to do right now.
Pretty cool. Yep.
Oh,
Let's do it. So somebody's going to win
Dennis.
$10. We're not sure who it is. Travis, it's you. Congrats. No, I
Is
don't know
it?
who it is.
Oh my
See.
goodness.
And
What's
it's gonna
the
be-
criteria for this competition?
Yeah, this
that
is
you've
this
sprung
is
upon
news
us?
to us. Fill us
Alright.
in. We need some more. We
It's
need some more
going to be
information.
to Sony.
What for? Was it a random draw for people?
Is this a door prize for joining the event?
Apparently.
Yeah, I had mentioned
Participation
that.
award.
There you
Yeah, I
go.
had mentioned that first place was going to be 30, second was 25, third was 20, and for as a random draw for the rest, 10.
Well, that's very
Ah, okay.
generous. There you go.
That
so
is.
Gabor is
Fair enough.
the recipient of which currency is this going out in?
USD.
USD. So 30 USD for Gabor. Not bad.
So he can actually finally call himself a professional sim racing driver.
There you go.
He sure can.
I'm sure I will get a message right now from Gabor. I assure.
Yeah, with his PayPal probably. Well, anyway.
Oh, I have it.
Oh, there you go. You got it already. Thank you very much for doing that. That's good to know. And congrats to the winners, our podium winners, and Team Soini.
Since you're here and you were spectating along with us, your driver of the day. Who was your pick? We'll put you on the spot.
That was a
Driver of
question,
the
yeah.
day. I mean,
Okay.
it was there's quite a few. I liked how Rafael was going through, but then I saw the strategy that Azar did, and I was like, oh, will it work? Because like I said, I've seen him do that before, and it worked out pretty well. But yeah, Zesty drove a smooth race, and yeah, it was pretty good.
We wholeheartedly disagree with your point of view, but sure, if that's your take from today, each to their own. We thought Azar wholly messed it up, but yeah, go on, Travis.
Well, since he put it that way, I have when we're rounding this out, I have one more question for Dennis on the topic of Imran's strategy, so we can take that up in a minute.
Let's unearth that again. Why not?
Yes.
Well, thank you for joining us, Happy D, and thanks for doing the prize draw. We should have made more of a fuss about the prizes throughout the broadcast, but there we are. Thanks for doing those.
All good.
And yeah, once again, MRC going above and beyond for the LFS community. I think that's fair to say. So thanks very much. Well, Travis, it probably it's time to do that now. That thing you wanted to say.
Yeah, I think so. Yeah, the rounding out our thoughts, Gabber, dominant as usual. Unfortunate for Imran Azar. Happy D made an interesting point there that he's seen that strategy work before. So I wonder if perhaps he had the fuel in the tank and he were able to run flat out at the end. If perhaps he could have made it work. Though I have not informed myself with Gabber's lap times, so perhaps not. Dennis, quick hot take, and then we'll wrap it up.
So my initial mathematics was wrong. So I had calculated from my quick LFS world search how much fuel it was per lap for BF1 around Kyoto National, and it was not the number that I had. So my initial on the fuel was wrong. It's around 3.5 per lap, which puts them that they needed a minimum of 100.5% of fuel of what they already started with. So the 20% initially was wrong, but that makes the strategy from Imran even more strange. As you can see, most of the people have done a two-stop strategy. He's done a 3 because of a mistake. So yeah, very, very interesting strategy, especially when you consider the fuel that you had to use. But in the end, it didn't play in his direction. I still think he should have stayed out in the beginning, and we could have seen, let's say, he would have been more safe on fuel himself, and he could have been fighting for a win. I think he had a strong chance today. But Gabor, as always, quite dominant in open wheel events.
I think you're right.
Yeah. Strategy mistake aside, we have seen today what Imran is made of, and that is enough to challenge his new side, his teammate Gabber. So, unfortunate for him, but still a great performance.
I think it's easy to pick it apart, but again, there were definite strengths to his performance, and making, having those 2 extra opportunities to rectify the potential strategy error was just a shame in the end. So yeah, good things from Imran to come. It was an unusual performance from him because normally he's a solid pair of hands strategy-wise. So we will see. That's a wrap for the MRC BF1 special. Thanks very much to Dennis for joining us for some great insight. I think it was really interesting to have him in the commentary box. I think you'll agree, Travis.
Yes, I absolutely thrilled to have had you here in the commentary box with us, Dennis. That was brilliant. You did an amazing. We brought you in. You said you would come in to do kind of pit lane reporting and call a few things in the background, and then with my difficulties with audio equipment, this ended up being your debut commentary performance, and it was absolutely brilliant. So thank you very much for joining us.
You're so welcome. Anytime.
Well, don't be careful what you wish for.
We'll take you up on that.
He's driving tomorrow, unfortunately, so we can't use him then. But yes, speaking of tomorrow, there may be a safety car. Speaking of tomorrow, we do have more action from NDR. NDR, of course, have had a pretty substantial input, I want to say, into the organisation of many of MRC's events over the last few years. And NDR are back. We have a trailer to play you for tomorrow's action in the GT2 Challenge. Yeah, New Dimension Racing are back tomorrow on your screens for more GT2 Challenge action. That is going to be round number 3 from South City. Oh, no, sorry. That is going to be from... Chris, where's it going to be? Kyoto 3 apparently, although on my calendar it's wrong, so I will have to look in the background and see what's gone on there. But yeah, we believe it could be coming from Kyoto Grand Prix tomorrow. It's advertised as South City Long on my calendar here. That's bizarre, but there we go. GT2 Challenge back here tomorrow, live on our channel in the afternoon. So please join us for that. But yeah, from Sim Broadcasts for tonight, from Chris in the background, from Dennis and myself and Travis in the commentary box. All of you, we hope you have a great evening. Congratulations to our podium and to Team Lisoini for winning that bonus prize, the random draw by Happy D. And yeah, congratulations on 15 years in LFS to Master Race Car. We've thoroughly enjoyed the action today, but it's Gabor's day. And yeah, we'll see you at the next one. Thanks very much.